Good morning, Four Nations Nation, I suppose. My name is
One way to put it.
Trajan. I will be your host this morning for the Round 1 recap, another Saturday recap coming out for the UKEL Four Nations, joined by Avi and Rob to discuss the first round of playoffs. And I think, folks, we had a lot of kind of exciting, the world is upside down, everything's different now, you don't know what's going to happen going into playoffs. And then we have round 1 of playoffs, and we've gone, you know what? Let's just go back to what we know. Let's just go back to Venom Crest and Kerberos in quick winning. You know, let's forget all of that. Let's go back to what we know. Rob, you had some pretty. You were expecting upsets. You were expecting guard changes. You know, and we've just not had them. What's going on?
I think we'll obviously get into it a bit later when we talk about the specific games. I don't want to go too depth because I still have some very.
We'll have time for that.
That's a deep cut. I knew you were going to bring this up, by the way, because I think I was only 2-2 on it. I think overall, there were games that we thought would be pretty close, and I think they end up going like one way or the other. I think the games that we were very certain on, I think, did go the results we wanted. That's not like that for me. One of them was wanted for me. I hate Rise. Yeah, I want to. No,
Whoa, we don't hate anyone.
No, but I think overall it was. I wouldn't call the results upsets in the other way, right? I think they were. We on the previous show when you were here with me and Temporal, we had the games all being quite close, other than Belfast versus Rise, and kind of saw that in the series that we had.
Yeah, and Avi, at the very least, we do keep 8 out of 10 teams. We keep most teams make it into playoffs, almost all of them, in fact. How have you been feeling about the quality of the games? Because in theory, this should be now, we're getting to the end of a split, we're getting to the end of a year, right? This is the third split of 2025, and we should be reaching something approaching peak performance, right?
You'd think so, but I think, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, it's been a bit scrappy last couple matches, hasn't it? I mean, I don't know what's happening, because we're not seeing upsets per se, but we're seeing just messy plays that aren't really working out. We're seeing just sloppy mistakes, honestly, and it just kind of doesn't feel like playoffs, really. It feels early season again, which is kind of crazy to think about.
It's very true, actually, and we can... If we talk about like this feels like the start of the split kind of vibes. This leads me quite comfortably into one of the 2 upper bracket matches. We'll start in the upper bracket. We'll take a look at Div 2 a little later, and then we'll look at lower bracket matches. But let's start with everyone's favorite heart-wrenching soap opera. Let's start with the Broad series. Broad versus Intquick, which is one of our upper brackets. And Broad looked like, coming into this series, that they got it sorted. They spent 2/3 of the split remembering what they're good at and how they're supposed to play. They came into playoffs, and Avi, they forgot it all. They forgot everything. We went right back to the start of the split Broad, and we were making the same kind of headless chicken maneuvers.
Okay,
and
in fairness to them, they weren't horrible. I think you got to give them some credit. They had a good start. They made it work, but if they just didn't have any staying power, did they? It just couldn't close anything out, really.
Not got the stamina. The boys don't have the stamina on the pitch. They just can't make it through a full 90. And Rob, they had 3 good starts, right? They had leads in every game.
So in game 1, they obviously, if you look at the kills, and if you're just a kills merchant, then it looks like Intquick were running away with it. But Broad overall did have a gold lead for within that game. Even though the scores lines were ridiculous, and the ending scoreline for Port was like 1-6-5 or so close. Everyone looked like they had an absolutely horrible game other than Spark. But weirdly enough, I think that first game, I don't say the reason they lost. I think this series is a really good example of how pivotal Spark is to the Cabbage Call, because in that first game, Spark gets caught twice. He gets caught once by Nautilus Hook at Baron, where they're starting it, gets one shot, and then they obviously lose that fight. And then the second time, he gets hit by an Ari Charm playing in the wrong kind of pocket in mid lane. I just think it's just game 2. They end up dying to early gank to Nulty. They obviously win that game, but I don't think Spark was a sort of a powering factor there. And then in game 3, they were so far ahead, and they end up throwing it away, and that came off of poor positioning as well as a team. But I think it's so easy when you watch Broad DAO to see. That's not to say like QQR isn't good or Porp isn't good. It's just Spark. If Spark isn't the last person dying in your team fights, I think you're having a really hard time if you're Broad. But Broad, it's really sad. I went back and watched it last night in prep for this, and it's like actually painful to watch because I thought, well, game one at least you could say the Inquick were winning that one, but they weren't.
Yeah.
Brods were literally in the lead in that game as well. So
but
I said they were frauds, Inquick, before. I said they were fraudulent on the previous recap, and I'm still kind of standing by it, even if they just beat Brod. Because I think that they should really win this series. So I think that
look, because in game
Prosper's
one,
already prepping for the lower bracket, by the way. In the chat the other day, Prosper was already saying, like, can we get the match history for the lower bracket? So he's prepared to go down there already.
Yeah, but like, so in game one at least, you know, they open that with a 3-0 lead for Kerberos Darius. They completely steamroll Akkus in the lane, and that's like, okay, you've smashed top. The rest of it's going fine. They're a little down in CS, but they're not out of it. So at least you can say Inquick had this really strong advantage to play through in game one, which they spend most of the game doing. The Mr. Tickle Ivern as well was very, very good. So that top side that we elevated in the playoffs preview, that Kerberos and Mr. Tickle have been like the guys, the consistent. No, these guys are actually for sure good.
Yeah.
And they have been, right? And they were really, really good. But the rest of the map was a lot more stable, and they weren't winning, but they weren't getting crushed either, right? So it's like, I understand how game one went that way, and to me it felt like Broad, they finally managed to get a team fight that they wanted. Spark and QQR firing on all cylinders, and they run it all the way to the Nexus. And I guess they'll be looking back thinking, I wish we'd just gone for the end. You know, because they could have gone for it. They could have quite easily gotten 2v4 there. I respect the decision to back away. But ultimately, then we have one of those very uncharacteristic Spark missteps. And for someone who'd been playing the first game so well, now it all looks like his fault. You know, it's just that he made the one game losing mistake, having played better than anyone else for the previous 35 minutes. It's kind of heartbreaking.
That's what they expect from Spark, isn't it? That's what the problem is that's the expectation on the head of Spark, and it has been for however long, like even before the UKEL came back, like when it was like Insomnias and things like this. Spark is the guy. Everyone looks at Spark.
Really good.
Scoring is really just insane. One of the best, if not the best. UK, not only the UK scene, because you got Dragdar and etc. You know, Xmati, but in terms of within the UK scene,
I'll go with that.
But it's where you see that Spark is so important that he can't make those mistakes, because if everyone else is having a bad day, Spark could not. And I think that is a really sort of telling. I want to point out here, this is also the third. That'll be game 3. Will have been the 4th game this split that Brod have faced Inquick with a gold lead and got a goal lead against them of not something insignificant, and they've thrown the game. So for some reason, Brod versus Inquick, they literally can do no wrong. They actually need to go behind in the early game to make sure that they don't give that lead to throw, because they had a 10k gold lead in the round robin. Port wasn't even in for that game, and they threw 10k gold lead versus Inquick in the round robin. So I think that Brod is just, we're on holiday. I mean, Joel is, despite hiding behind the Broad Sports Twitch channel, he's in the chat. They had been on holiday. Some of them have been on holiday before this. And I do think, if I remember, they may have only come back and played one game just before the official. And I think that was pretty telling why it's gone back to what looked like early split Brod, where it looked like they were still kind of figuring some stuff out. That game 3 though was really horrific.
It just didn't look good, did
they got 5-0, and then
the first 15 minutes.
After the first 15 minutes, suddenly it was really good, and then suddenly it just looked horrific. Like suddenly everyone lost their minds. They lose one fight, and they just don't seem to know where to play it. I'm a bit sad because I obviously like the Broads. I think they're a great representative of the scene, but I don't really know what they were doing. What they were doing in this series, and they made me look terrible for saying that Inquick was a fraud, and it's obviously everything is about me, and they did this on purpose. That was clearly there. There's clearly no. I think Inquick. We need to talk about Inquick though, because I feel like we talk about every other team that faces them, rather than the team themselves. Even though they got story players, I think they looked fine. It's just, again, I always feel like whenever I watch them, that it's the other teams lose rather than Inquick win, and maybe that's taking away from Inquick.
I think that is taking away a little bit, especially say from the top side that we know is good, can win lanes and affect the game in a positive way. I do think that Beely tends to just kind of get by as best he can. I don't think Beely can particularly make an impact on the game at many stages. There's a chance for Artorias to do so, but Artorias and Prosper are a bit hit and miss, right? They're a bit kind of, sometimes it goes crazy, sometimes it completely whiffs, and the top side is a consistent part. But Avi, do you believe that Inquick are as fraudulent as Rob still believes that they are, despite the fact that they've just beaten Broad?
Listen, we have our summer preds. I did have Broad winning 2-1, so obviously I got that one a little bit wrong. I I was
Only a little
agreeing.
bit.
Well, no,
It looked like it was gonna be true.
But it should have
like
been true.
it should have been. I agree. It should have been,
yeah.
because up until now, I think Broad have been a bit more consistent across the board.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen Artorias putting in a really nice performance, actually. More consistent across the course of the series. We've seen a few missteps here and there throughout the split, but just seemed everyone on Inkwick was on the same page this time, and it obviously really worked out for them. So happy to see that. I'm just amazed with their top side though. Kerberos and Mr. Tickle. I think what more can we say, because they've been so good across the series, so good across the split, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think that if they keep playing towards this top side and making sure that they can just carry games late and have Artorias and Beely as like, okay, survive and then do good enough damage later, respectable. If they can just work on that a little bit, if they can keep that sort of team play going, I think they're in a real shot here.
Yeah. I definitely agree that I think Artorias had a notably better series. There wasn't a big miss for them, and they did definitely play better together. Like they're not doing anything flashy, they're not doing anything spectacular, but
no, they're very standard in a
they're
sense.
decent,
Isn't
right?
a bad
but
thing.
then and they've got pop-up potential from Kerberos. And they were playing a lot more like just standard and decent without the bigger holes in there, and Broad were kind of dashing themselves on the rocks of their own misfortune, like at times. So
yeah, there is that. Let's call it that.
But I think we were treated in the last few splits to having. I mean, maybe this last split we obviously had Inkwick at the top, and then we had Venomcrest, and you would have said that those two were the top two teams, and we obviously had Air in the league, and we had Bus. The thing that really makes it difficult for me at the moment with Inkwick and with a number of the teams actually is that we obviously have Belfast Storm, and that is clearly the best team we've got. Like we know we can tell that this split Belfast Storm do look the best, and we'll obviously get to them match in a sec. But who is the second best team? Because someone's else has got to be in that final. And like if you're saying that Inkwick are really good at getting by, it's basically what you've said, Trajan. Inkwick are really good at doing the bare minimum to get by. That doesn't feel like a second place team to me. Like that feels that feels like a third force bronze medal kind of team. That's how it feels in terms of where's the
we have seen those flashes of brilliance.
But
it does feel like they are standing and exploiting a lot of the weaknesses of their opponents, which is why we end up talking more about their opponents than them most of the time, just because it's more feels like there's more to dig into there, whereas Inkwick don't feel like there is as much to add except on the top side.
I mean, Nulty's been incredible. Like Nulty, I was going to say, Nulty in this series was also really good. Even in game 2 that they lost, Nulty's it can be a bit dodgy to do like a 3-camp gank into then invert your pathing into bot because he was pathing away and then snap back round to get that kill early in bot lane. But I think that overall he's I say dodgy. It can sometimes be a little bit game losing if the enemy jungler respects it and suddenly you're behind in tempo on the map. But I think that he's been really, really, really good. Like I will say that I think the one we talk about Curb because I think Curb is the flashy one that plays the Darius and plays everything, but Nulty is just he plays every champion. He can play carries. He played Ivan in this series. He's just been absolutely incredible. Like I do think that's the one player I would point to. Weirdly enough, I know people say Curb is the catalyst for winning. I think Nulty is the alpha and the omega.
Yeah,
I
go
include
with that,
Nulty
actually.
in that top side. I include Nulty in the top side. I'm counting Curb and Nulty in that.
I would.
Because for sure,
he's just been so good, and I think that was one of the things that took them over the line in this series. Weirdly enough, was like Nulty. They obviously are solid. They've all played comp. They don't really make those kind of silly mistakes. But I think it's just Nulty's ability to get leads early on. Like it has been really, 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 really good in this entire split. I have to shout him out because I feel like I'm really harsh on Inkwick all the time. But I just feel really awkward being like, this is a really great team when I feel like I watch people walk into the same traps, whether it's draft or whether it's in game. I see people kind of make those same mistakes into them, and no one's really sitting there and just playing a solid game into them. Because I look back at previous splits, and I think who got to finals in previous splits, and it was usually two teams that had shown not just flashes of brilliance, but like some player that was just next level compared to the rest of the league. Like even like Belfast Storm, Bandits and Venomcrest in the split before that, or even before that, you would then had like Lions Creed Academy and then Paragon in that upper bracket run took out Ruddy and then took out Venomcrest in that split. And it was like Timotopper was just like playing casted doing wanted. These kind of things where it's just like you had these there's like moments of flashes of brilliance, and then there's like whole games where it's just like, wow, like where did this team come from? And I've not seen that from Inkquick so far this split, and that's what makes me a little bit nervous because I look at the lower bracket, and there are some teams there you could point to and say they could come up with something, and I don't have that same feeling.
Teams that can have the potential for a higher ceiling moment, as you say, like an individual overperformance. Whereas Inkquick doesn't necessarily play like that. It seems like they are playing and allowing the other teams to present them with their own issues, and just not offering their own and not making those silly mistakes, as you say. Like, that's just the veterancy angle that they have, right? This team is so experienced, far more experienced than any other team in the region. Massively. And that just shows, right? So you need to overcome them with something. You cannot simply just walk up and be kind of loose and lackadaisical and make these mistakes, because they will punish you for them, even if they're not necessarily pop-off artists themselves, because they just don't have to be. So it's a good yardstick for the Four Nations, and it's the kind of thing that you'd hope helps the region improve, because if you can't beat this Inkquick roster,
gatekeeping, then definitely,
this gatekeeps the improvement of the teams, because if you can't keep it together enough to beat them, then you don't deserve it, right? And they're not doing anything crazy.
That's it's really hard. I want to be like, wow, look at this exquisite.
Sometimes they will use an off-meta pick or something, but they're not. They're not completely rewriting the script, whereas some other teams like Paragon did.
Back then did. It was like, they were 4th place, just snuck in, and then suddenly they come up against Ruddy and they come up against Venom Crest, and they're facing like a freebie. Shout out a freebie, by the way. UK, Latvian talent going off to play in. I can't remember which league he's playing in now, but is he playing in Spain?
It's Benelux, isn't it? That you went to?
No, he was on MCon and then Zenit. I think he's gone to. Is he on Barca? I can't remember now. He's not
on Barca. That's crazy. If he's gone to Barca, that would be massive. If he's gone to Barca, like EMEA Masters contending teams. Not to hate on a freebie, but
this is a complete. I've got to check this because he's playing for Zeta.
Because he got them to top 8, I think, on Zenit. He was like the breakthrough Zenit roster. And MCon, right? So he was performing really well on in Benelux, but I don't know if we're.
That was it.
Okay.
He's in Spain.
It's Portugal League. Okay.
Not quite Barca then.
LVP is Spain. LVP.
Sorry, that's LPL. No, so it is Spain, but
he's in Spain, but not Barca. Who's on Zeta. I got the wrong.
Fine. Anyway,
Anyway, but that's the thing. We've had talent in the past that have shown up and they've shown these really moments of brilliance. Inkquick is kind of just really, really solid. It's really hard to sit there and you see people run into them and die, and you go, "Oh, what the hell's going on here, guys?" Like, why? You can identify the problem is when you can see easily identifiable problems when facing them. You question when is a team going to come along and just not make those easily identifiable mistakes. There you go.
Yeah. So. The only other thing to reference from this series is that we cannot forget that Broad need to win a series, any series, to make RPS. And they probably should have won this series, and they didn't. And now they're in the lower bracket. And this is now second round of the lower bracket, where we've seen both of those teams that advanced, that we talk about a little later, actually put on pretty solid performances in the lower bracket, and they look like they're switched on, especially one of them, right? And we need to be aware for Broad, and they are probably going to be more aware than anyone else, how close they are to throwing the whole year away on this. Because this has been the tragedy of the Broad Esports Broad and Friends project this year, is that they have always come in with such confidence, with apparent cohesion and apparent kind of consistency of vision compared to almost anyone else, keeping the same players and the same kind of ethos, that has come so close time and again, and is now right on the cusp of actually achieving kind of what the whole year is about, which is making RPS and making it to NLC, and they could lose it. They could lose it all right now. And that is just, there is nothing more British sports than that.
No, I don't think there is really, is there?
So what you're saying to Nemly, who will be in chat, is that you're a load of bottle merchants, and when you fluff it to Gucci in the lower bracket, you're gonna be the biggest bottlers in the UK scene.
They are about to teach everybody what it is like to show up and show out for the football team that you've been a fan of since your dad took you to games when you were 5 years old, to watch them get relegated, to watch them lose the opportunity and fluff it in playoffs. Broad is bringing that to the Four Nations, which in a way we can be thankful for it, because it makes it more of a true experience, and it's an experience that people can all relate to. A lot of people can relate to, but in the same way, it introduces us all to the gut-wrenching pain that adds for all the Broad fans out there. So
just another one. In chat again, Nemly has said for Split 2 he hired me. That was Split 1, so he doesn't even know his club's own history.
Doesn't even know
He doesn't even
who's
know
hiring him when. Like
Wow.
the management is in shambles over there. Like he can't.
I don't think he even knows his own history with this club, and
Yeah.
I think
Hope
that
so.
like this split they got proper Panda coaching, and they fluffed it a bit like we did in that first split. So I think that no matter who they have, I think it might just be the culture of the club that causes the problem, and it should be Nemly out really, because it's clearly comes from the top,
fish
rot
rots
from the top.
head.
A bit
Okay,
like
Rob.
Tottenham, bit like Tottenham. And
Rots from
Gov
the
knows
head.
all about Tottenham's problems, and let's just
Yeah.
say it's just like Tottenham itself. They're trying to hope for Thomas Frank. It's not going to happen. They're going to have to come up with something else next year.
Okay.
Right. So hopefully Broad will not literally do it to themselves and all of us, but of course if they do, that's the game. That's how it works. If they lose it
Game's
out,
game.
that's life. Game is game, absolutely. Right. Let's talk about the other series, which is Belfast Storm versus Rise Gaming. Belfast Storm, as you already mentioned, are kind of eponymous favorites that need to win the split to have a chance to make RPS, depending on whether or not Broad completely bottle it and lose out in their next series. But Rise were definitely kind of comfortably on the upper half of the standings. They look like a good team, but again, a flawed team in the way that most of, if not all of our teams kind of are. But Avi, from what we expected from this series, we knew that Belfast were the favorites. How did you feel about the performance that Rise gave? They did not win, but how do you feel about the fight that they put up?
I'll be honest, I'm trying to phrase this nicely. No, I think that sums it up though, doesn't it? I was watching this series back last night, and you could see that they were trying to play really proactive, trying to be the aggressors, but it just felt like silly decision after silly decision where you push too far forward, you make the weirdest cross map plays, you don't have any anti-heal into a full like Mundo Nila Trundle team. What are you doing? Like, why? It just felt to me like they had the ideas, they tried to make plays happen, but didn't really close out on any of them. It feels like you're in a kitchen. It's a great kitchen. You've got the best chefs on the planet, but they have no communication. They have no decision making, and it just came out really messy. And I think Belfast just took the opportunity to punish 100%. There was no opportunity for Rise here.
Yeah, I think that it certainly looked like, as you say, Rise were trying to be proactive, and because we'd seen teams like Good Chi, I believe, in like the last weeks of the split, show that with proactivity you can amass an early lead against Belfast. They're not a perfect early game team. Sometimes they do play a little bit complacent. They don't really necessarily push the envelope too much. There's ways to get around roulette in the early stages, and you can try and ban and push Raider onto a non-carry and maybe have that be less of an influence. There's things you can do. And it seemed like they were trying to play the same way, but were not able to cleanly achieve that goal. And for Belfast credit, they might have just tidied up their early game a little bit and looked at those games and gone, okay, what are we doing wrong? How do we make sure we don't give those opportunities? And, you know, as you mentioned the Nila, Rob, I don't know, as an ex-coach and
I like Nila's good in that game, by the way. That's actually a good.
It's really good into that game
because it's like the Yunara. Was it Yunara answer?
Yunara.
It was.
Yeah, Nara. I think firstly, Belfast, they never really not in control. Even when they were making mistakes, you got caught like in that second game, like 3 times.
It never feels like they're
spot.
losing.
It doesn't
Even
feel
if they're
like
down a K or whatever. It doesn't feel like they're losing.
If you're a fan or a coach or whatever of the other team, maybe not player because you're zoned in at the moment, every time you watch when your team faces Belfast, you sit there and go, yeah, but when is Belfast going to just turn it back on again? You know, like, and even when in that game, Rise gave some pretty bad leads away early, and then they sort of fought back in both games. I just say about the Nila, I think it's a really, really good pick in that game. It's good to see it being brought out in situations where it is pretty solid.
Yeah.
I just think Rise, I mean, I remember because I was casting that with Brit, and then I believe you were on the desk, Trajan. Were you on the desk for that one? I can't remember, but I know you had some thoughts on it. I can't remember, but
no, I've been only been on the desk once. And that was
because I was going to say that I can't remember who I was speaking to, but it was just like the worst thing ever was that Rise in those games clawed their way back into both of those games, really offer some really solid players. I know Tweet didn't have the best Jarvan game, but he made a number of picks onto Fuyu that result in teamfight wins in that second game, for example. And then
Vanilla was
suddenly,
looking rough at the start,
yeah,
but you could see the vision later.
I look, both games are very similar because there were some rough situations for Fuyu a little bit. Then he looked really came really into it on both the Neela and the Varus. Then the mid game was like, well, in the second game he got caught a couple of times with Varus, but then overall in that first game they also kind of made a couple of team fight mistakes. And then Rise get caught once and then they just lose their mind at Baron basically twice. In the first game they run in 4v5 when even if they give Baron, like, if you run in you're going to lose. So you are just going to lose. Like, if you give them Baron, there's a chance you can slow the game down to where Baron falls off and you can get a bit more gold in your pockets and you can look for another good team fight. Because I don't think their drafts were a problem. Some of Rise's drafts has been a problem. I don't think it was draft problem this series actually. So you could have waited a little bit. And then that was game 1. Game 2, they just start a Baron when they don't have all of their teammates there. There's a Fiora just pushing, and then they BB dies on side to the Fiora, then they lose a 4 versus 4 at the Baron when they shouldn't even be taking the Baron in the first place, because you have to break when you're in that situation versus a very heavy split pushing team or champion like Fiora. You have to break the split push first. If he's already in that position at your turret, you can't send one member to try and slow roll that and then take the 4v4 because it's too flip. Like you have to have already played when the Fiora goes for a reset. You have to have already then pushed out and then denied her the ability to get those sideways. This could go to a long time, but basically, I think they made a few mistakes on split pushing. Raider wasn't even really, I say wasn't needed. He did a lot on Fiora that game, but I think it was like not even final form. Roulette just had an amazing series. Roulette looks so good.
That's
so good. It wasn't even needing
Definitely.
Fiora. They weren't even needing Raider. Like, honestly, they didn't need Raider this series.
Yeah, Raider was fine, but Roulette was someone who has been touted, this is a new name to the league, this split, but has always been touted as a better player than the league's general level. This is like an ERL 1 player that people are kind of expecting.
Turkish League 1, definitely,
Yeah, like really, really strong, and is showing that, right? This split,
100%.
And this series was kind of the quintessential moment of that. And I was watching the series with some of the like community people on Broad in their server just to watch the games through, and then Sin came in after, and like, we're not gonna leak everything you said, but like there was a clear frustration there. There was like, this was a frustrating series, it sounded like, for Rise to play, largely because of the roulette is everywhere effect. This guy is just everywhere. Everywhere we're trying to do something, every play we're trying to make, he's always there, he's always ruining it, he's always spoiling it. And that kind of influence of a really dominant jungle performance we saw from players like Lunkafer in the past, who are also playing like Viego and playing like kind of scrappy, they're skirmishers, but then they can carry a game with that kind of influence. It's very similar, and it's just, you just can't get away from
Roulette
him.
was doing it on Trundle and was doing it on Vi in this series.
You fight early and
crazy
often.
Thing.
You're always in the right place, always at the right time, and Roulette just was dominant beyond belief this series. And Tweak has had a very strong split. It's been good. It's been continuing to grow. We saw, was it Gucci we saw him on last split?
Gucci,
Yeah, it was Gucci last split that people were like, oh, this guy's pretty good. And then we saw him rise, like, oh, this guy's still pretty good, right? This is a nice kind of up and coming name. But Roulette just kind of had his way with Tweak over the course of the series, I think, and that was.
I think you also saw some fundamental issues from some of the play. Like, so BB often on sides pushes up too far and gets caught. We saw that again in this series. Sin and Jamsu in bot lane, they often make mistakes in terms of their waves early on in the game. It happened when they were on Broad against Bandits, I remember. It's the kind of thing where it reminded me of, I think it was the series versus Bandits, where they just play a bit aggressive, and it kind of means that the wave is in a spot where the Trundle can just come in for an easy gank on the right timer and get 2 kills, and then that really snowballs away the bot lane. Like, the bot lane's in a bad state, and then it's kind of hard for the jungle matchup, because often Roulette was in a spot where he had, like, Trundle and Vi are quite easy junglers to play, and they're quite easy junglers to have high impact on, in terms of these little weird skirmishes early on. I just think there was a few, like, you see the fundamental errors coming from the players on Rise, and you kind of see a player like Roulette, like, how many times did he just cover a side lane, just do what jungler should do, skip some camps, cover a side lane, wait for someone to step up too far, pop the pillar or pop the it's not called that, cease and desist, almost said the wrong name,
Right,
and
be knocking down your door.
Yeah, right, be fucking. They're already here. They're already here. No.
Minus 100.
And I think that he just played it very like this is what he could do. You could do it on any jungler really, but he was playing very good at covering sides, incredibly good at he would let Limsey play really aggressive, and enemy team would be like, oh my god, we've got a player, we got this Zerzinting, and then suddenly Roulette's there to cover as well. I think it was just really fundamentally great league from Belfast, and Rise got exploited for a number of the weaknesses. I think I said it on broadcast. I've seen Sid and Jamsey, for example, play this wave where they play a bit too aggressive before they play a bit too far up and they get caught by a jungler at the wrong timer, and it literally happens like 30 seconds later. And I think that's something where if that's a pattern that can be seen, then I think it's something that people can easily exploit, but they don't even need to think about it, because there's a jungler there. All Trundle was doing was just clearing, and then he was 3 kills. Like it was just like it wasn't anything crazy. He just does the fundamentals really well.
To the things that we just got done praising Inquick for just kind of punishing mistakes, right? And Belfast are also very, very good at that when they're able to have a clean early game themselves. They just have the knowledge to do so. Now, Avi, given that Roulette's just had like another blinder of a series, right? We mentioned Lunkafer as someone who's won like split MVPs in the past from the jungle role, but currently like struggled this split. In the kind of landscape of junglers, we do have a lot of big names there, like say Lunkafer's fallen down, Roulette's come in, Paup has been around for so long. If we're trying to think about who the actual, and then Phrase as well on Venom Crest had a real like resurgent series on Venom Crest. If you had to try and call, like, do you think Roulette is just the best jungler by a clear head, or?
The debate can definitely be had for it. I mean, the performance we've seen throughout the split has been almost next level. We've seen not domination per se, but setting the team up for perfect plays, perfect sweeps. That series with Rise, we see you're still able to run it and absolutely dominate, but you're also trying to play to let Fuyu get the work in. That's perfect. You're getting Raider set up as well. It's really strong team play whilst being able to carry as well. Like, that's what you want to be seeing. You want to be seeing someone who plays for teams, plays for fights, plays to try and set up the rest of your team. And that's what we're seeing. But we're also seeing someone who can go in and completely take over a game on a carry jungle. I think that's the thing that impressed me the most with Roulette this split. I mean, definitely in the discussion for best, if not just definitively, I'd say.
Yeah, and I think someone who, I think apart from the first game against Absolved, where like they were having problems coming with Raider, and Roulette was, I think it was on Viego as well, and he got kind of shut out of that game. You just so rarely see that. Like, and obviously Belfast haven't lost a game since, right?
No, you've seen just how well they've adapted and started working with each other over the last few weeks, and it really shows. Obviously, they're coming in to playoffs as the favorites pretty much, and they're really showing it. They're really showing why everyone expects them to take this home, and I think you got to give them respect for it, because it's absolutely amazing.
Rob, you mentioned that like sometimes Fuyu can have earlier rougher times in lane, and that does seem to be, if we're looking for a consistent issue, or like the in the weakest form of like a flaw really, is sometimes Fuyu can struggle a little bit in lane, sometimes you have a slow starts for him, Limsey even as well, sometimes early on it's not quite as good, and this is like me really stretching for a problem, right? Do you think that the bot lane can actually be like, do you think there's an angle to actually attack Belfast through there? Because obviously attacking Raider seems like a bit of a waste of time, and Roulette is obviously, like, again, it's very hard to destabilize him. But if we're trying to craft a way to beat Belfast for anybody, where are we now thinking, like, where is the weakness? Where do we try and take the fight to them?
First, I was sort of expecting you to ask this. I think that firstly, I think this isn't to say that I think Belfast are just easily beatable, because I think that Fuyu, Little Pants, and Limsey are very good players. Limsey in particular, I want to say, has impressed me more and more, because he's obviously took like a break on Belfast in one of those previous splits. Vixen played mid for them for a lot of time. Last split before, we had Wicked in mid, and then Limsey came in for playoffs. But he's always been really impressive. And I think that he's not necessarily a weakness. I think that firstly, I would point to Limsey and say about the Azir sort of conundrum. I just think that it provides too much. They're happy to blind it against nearly every other mid in the league, and no one's really been able to punish it. Do I think there are mids that can punish it? Yes. Do I think I think there are a number of mids still left in the tournament that are strong enough, with a good enough pool to punish a blind Azir, but do I think it's going to be easy to like. The problem is the China champions that you want to punish Azir with are like Akali, and you start going to that situation where you start playing too many assassins, you start playing kind of a weirder style, like a less coherent style maybe, and it's kind of where you think you're just better, or you can hand stiff, or you're you know, and you can't really do that easy against Belfast.
And that's where we leave the mistakes on the table.
And that exactly. And so I think like Limsey's not really punishable. I think the Azir conundrum is something someone's got to solve. But with Fuyu and Little Pants, I think
I've solved it. I solved it.
Ban it. Oh, you banned it.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Because that seems like no team was remembered that that's possible. It's the amount of
he
B1
picks every game.
He picks B1s every game it's open, because obviously why not? It is kind of bonkers.
It's pretty ridiculous, and I think that like Fuyu and Little Pants, as much as I do think are very good, I think is the angle you attack. I don't think you can't really go through Raider because of just his pool. He usually gets last pick. He's usually playing a counter, right? He's usually playing counter picks, so like you're going to play through a losing lane anyway. I think that you kind of. We saw Chi do it in that final game. I think this one of the few times I think, other than Absolved in the very first game, where I think that was Belfast's draft being very ego and not really coherent. Where I think they've been coherent everywhere else in the split for draft. I think that was their wake up game, and it was rather annoyingly the first game of the damn split. So they woke up basically day 2 and said we should probably start winning games. I think you attack for you Little Pants in terms of not in pool, but try and get better matchup in bot lane. I think you play around your bot side if you're able to take better jungle 3v3s. That's generally the way I would go. Try and don't. If Limsey is going to blind the Azir, try and take a counter and maybe go for the Akali. Some people are okay with LeBlanc, but it's kind of a difficult match. So people who will argue that that's not the best matchup anyway. For the Azir, it's Ari used to be the pick into it back in the day, but it's not necessarily a big problem. I think it's just too blindable at the moment. I think Azir is very, very strong, so I probably would just ban it, see him on something else. It also leads you to, like, my concern is, do they go to the Nocturne Orianas? Really had a great Nocturne. You talk about junglers. I think the two best junglers, two best junglers in the league are currently, in my opinion, the ones in the upper bracket final. I think Nolte has probably been the second best jungler, at least from the eye test, which shows you how broken the jungle role is. Really, right? Please nerf this role. But besides the point, I think that Roulette is, might just end up going towards like Nocturne Oriana. He does have a very good Nocturne. I just think you just have to hit for you Little Pants. Little Pants can also make a number of mistakes. He can be over aggressive. He can often play too far up in the lane. He can often play. He doesn't necessarily play off of his jungler, but like if you listen to their comms, they're not sat there like, I don't know how many games they've really been locked in. So I think if you can really put the pressure on them, and you have to keep that pressure up, and you can't sit like, I think if you saw that Gucci game is a great example of this actually, where Gucci made the just kept going in the wrong way. They didn't sit there and go, well, we've got this lead. Let's reset and take a fight. They took a fight. They kept going and going, and could have ran out of the tempo juice. They ran out of their tempo bar was dropping. Like they ran out of time, and they needed to get off the map, and they didn't. And I think if you're able to get those early leads and just play solidly, I mean, this may be something Inkwick beat Belfast or no. If you just play solidly, you win. No, I think if you're able to shut down Raider, lane swaps are another option as well. I think if you can punish bot early, then maybe swap into Raider and sort of punish that counter. He often goes for
there's so many threats in bot lane right now that can deal with Raider's champion pool if they're fed. There are so many AD carries in the pool that it doesn't matter how fed Raider is. He's not going to be able to deal with it if the AD carry has a support beside them, maybe a jungler as well. We have picks like Yunara, like Jinx, like Xayah. Like, there's so many picks you can take that will absolutely body a Darius, even if he's 10 and 0. It doesn't matter. Like, you can get comps and build your own threat to deal with that, but you've got to build the threat safely and don't toss it away, right? Because as soon as you let control of that go, Raider is gonna take so much more of the map. So...
And I think we should bring this up now. This is going to be a good thing to set for the future. Is the only teams I see beating Belfast are teams with a better bot lane than Belfast.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's an important, because I think top laners can stonewall Raider to some degree. He'll still get leads, but I think what I mean is that
you can gracefully lose lane against Raider's pool.
Exactly.
You can do what Loopy does, and just put Ty on or Ornn or whatever.
And jungle's jungle. Like, you don't see Roulette playing a heavy invade style. He just plays very good, solid jungling. He's not cheesy. He's not a Rengar sat in your red buff bush waiting for you to turn up. He's just playing the map properly. I think it comes down to who has a better bot lane than Belfast, and who has a mid laner that is happy into Limsey's pool. And I think, off the top of my head, in my opinion, I think there are maybe... this is not even if they will beat Belfast. It's just if they have a chance to beat Belfast. I think there are two teams that have that category, and I'll talk about it later, I think.
There's at least one, for sure, that you could argue. I'm not sure who the second one is. Avi, because I'm assuming one of them is Broad, but because Spark and Zeta are very good, but am I
They
forgetting
have
someone?
been. I just don't know. I think
Sin and Jamsu can be. They were
Yeah.
kind of.
You're
better
not going to
2v2,
guess.
I
You're not
think, in
going to
that
because
series.
you're going to call me biased. I think
Oh, you're
we'll
gonna
get into them
look.
later.
you're gonna say
I think
gonna
Rhythm
say what
Chompy
it's-
has to be a better bot lane than for you
What?
little. Rhythm is
Oh my god, Rob.
What?
Rhythm.
Oh my
Rhythm.
god.
Rhythm.
Good
Rhythm.
cheat.
No,
Oh
no.
my
To be
god.
fair, it's true. It's true. Rhythm
Rhythm
is very,
Chompy,
very
and then
good,
you
right?
have
No, they
Pure
have
Rush
been
to mid
good, yeah.
lane. It is like
Yeah.
is what I mean is if you. I'm
Yeah.
just talking about from the idea of. It's not about beating the other teams because that's another problem entirely.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
talking
there
about
is-
who has a chance in terms of theoretically to
it's
beat Belfast.
who could maybe do it. Yeah, it's so we'll see if that can come to pass. Obviously, we're not going to unlikely to see anyone in the lower bracket, and we're probably going to see Belfast
Yeah,
storm their way through to at least the grand final based on how
See
they're
what we did.
playing. But we will.
I like it.
We could talk about that in a moment. For now, let's do a quick pivot before we look at the lower bracket, and let's catch up on
Yeah.
Div 2 because Div 2 playoffs are also going on right now, and there are some teams, some names that we will recognize down there. So. As long as Temporal can tear himself away from his Yu-Gi-Oh streams, then we will get that up on the screen because we have a nice graphic for you. But-
Crazy.
Let's have Division 2, please. Production.
Or all.
So
Tempe
we
went-
are gonna, so we're
Thank
gonna have,
God.
and there's a few teams that we recognize here. Nuclear Vikings, we know. Aversio sadly have been eliminated already. Good Cheese B team, Good Cheese and Furnace, are advancing as well. Natives Academy. So, Rob, I think you covered. Were you covering RPS? Like relegations last split? At least it
I
partially,
can't
right?
remember if I did. I mean, I have like tried to when I've been sat there doing adulting things, having a look at the games that have been streamed. So, for example,
Yeah.
we get there are streams coming out of like not Nuclear Vikings, but like Gucci and Furnace try and stream their
Yeah.
games. I've tried to catch up. I think Rise stream their games if I'm trying to remember
Yeah.
entirely. Emrys I think does as well. Overall, like 5v5 is a mostly Romanian core team, and they also play like Romanian tournaments. They are UK
Of course.
people.
I
Actually, I only know this from reading, being spent my time on Liquipedia. Anyway, or Leaguepedia rather. But either way,
Yeah,
the Natives Academy obviously kind of fluffed it last split in
Yeah, they
promo
were
relegations.
that was the moment when we expected Bulldogs to be removed, kind of
Yes.
unceremoniously, but they managed to finally hold it together, and then pulled it together into like a 4-5 or a 5-4 record.
Yeah,
in-
Natives are a
in this
good,
split.
decent enough team. Like you've got their jungler Shy's pretty good. The mid laner is also pretty good in point. I think there's a Oob. I can't remember the order. Oct and Oob. I don't know how to say their names exactly. There's some of the Irish players, some of their bot lane. And I can't remember their top laner is suddenly eluding me.
Dalbany, Dalbany.
Dalbany, yeah.
Dalbany?
I think that's how you say it. I think that they're overall pretty solid team. Ryzenari is a good team. I'd heard
Yeah.
rumors, Scrim Bucks, that Ryzenari had actually beaten the main roster of Rise in a Scrim block a couple weeks ago.
That's kind of funny.
That team's quite good as
That
well.
is
It's got,
really
like Oku, Nat, Tiz. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now who the
Nico
bot lane is.
Maraca.
Yeah, Nico Maraca, they're pretty good as well. I think they're overall solid teams. A team to look at. I mean, Gucci and Furnace have made a few roster changes over the course of the split. For example, they bring in Zephyr. Good towards the end of the split. Obviously, used to play on Nuclear Vikings in mid lane.
Yeah.
They've got players like Chocolate who played on Paragon. So that's
we
a
have
team
rigged,
that seems.
the Karthus jungle, Hecarim
Rigged is
jungle,
there.
Prodigy rigged. Yeah.
And then like Rynek and Akari, who have all kind of
All
played in
recognised,
Div
yeah.
1 at some point. And they've also got their sub. I can't remember, Gibby, I think. I can't remember the name now. The sub. They overall they looked to right. Goofy, that's the one. I know him as his different name, but I don't know if I can say it on stream.
you
okay.
don't let players change names, to be fair, Rob. You just keep calling them by whatever their original tag was with your hatred of Gabby. You're just gonna call
Yeah,
it Lifestyle
I
forever.
mean, come on now.
Lifestyle's a cool name, to be fair.
Lifestyle's
I
a
think
great
Lifestyle-
name. But then
Lifestyle's a
overall,
sick tag.
they've all the Div 2 this split I think is one of the more solid splits we've had of Div 2, where I think any team could beat any team. Emrys has got
Yeah.
a decent roster as well. Their ADC is very, very good. The mid lane is very, very good as well. Nuclear Vikings is the biggest question mark because I think they had a few times where they've had to sub in like Brody and support and stuff in the regular split, who is not a
Struggling.
support player really.
No.
And so I think that
They've still got Shush and Josh Kang though, which I have a lot
they've
of
got
time
Shush
for,
still.
so-
They've got Josh Kang. They've got I think they have Elling playing sometimes. Kiana playing sometimes. And then in bot lane they've had a Hagelwoj. Oh, I think that's how you say his name. They've had they've all got.
Sure. Why not?
I think they've all got really solid teams here. And are we saying that they're gonna take some slots in relegations, or how could they take it to Div 1 teams? We've seen in the past Div 2 teams are able to make, like with Absolve this split, for example, or other Div 2 teams coming in. A great example, weird enough, would be that Paragon roster that was the Ex Machina roster in Div 2. They came in and had a showing. I think Div 2 teams can be quite good. We don't have it here, by the way. I want to shout out Div 3. I've actually checked some Div 3 games out as well.
Oh, okay.
We don't have that graphic, and so I apologize, production. I'm probably going off topic here. I just want to bring out the friendly guys as well in Div 3. That's a team with Baro. I believe it's Baroni. Is it Baroni? Or is it no? It's Teal Moon, Swag.
We've gone past my realm.
I've forgotten the mid laners. Yoon, you might know Yoon. He's was on D4G. And then in bot lane you have Kingun, and then Worstman, who played on Paragon in that split initially. So they're like a very solid team. Even in Div 3, we've got really talented teams. Our Div 3 isn't like gold. It's players.
No,
it's like
it's
the teams they were playing their semi-finals recently, and they were full Masters teams. Some of them were GMs. So I think that we've got quality all the way down to Div 3. This split. Div 2 and Div 3 have actually looked Div 2 in particular have looked a lot more solid this split. Than in some previous splits where we kind of had there's a couple good teams, and then when the Inkquick split happened, it was like, well, there's Inkquick, and then it was like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough...
Symbol as well. I shouldn't say the cursed name. A Symbol was in that split.
It's a tough task to promote. Obviously, with Paragon and Bandits, our worst teams being 3-6 records. One of them is literally the Bandits that looked better at the end of the split. Paragon as well could have, if not for the turn of a tiebreaker, been in playoffs right now, and they could have had to face Venom Crest as one of the quote unquote relegation teams, which would have been a bit tough, I dare say. But
I mean, Bandits is terrifying as well. Bandits is
they're both very, very scary.
They should they should probably be in playoffs. I want to bring Bandits, by the way. If you look to the end of that split, they Lars and Lunkerford went on holiday for like 4 games. And so they come back and they win every game.
Everyone's going on holiday. Everyone's taking holidays in this split, and it's definitely not done them any favors. But to be fair, it's summer. So this is what happens. This is
prime League of Legends time. Don't go on holiday.
It's prime.
Don't have the time of your life. Don't have experiences. Sit inside and play League of Legends all day.
Okay, right.
I don't know how to react. To this.
Where have you been, Trajan?
Well, I don't know why the producer is turning my analyst against me. That's kind of harsh. That's not ideal. I mean, go back to your Yu-Gi-Oh streams, brother. But like, it's just because I took 3 weeks off in the start of this split, right? I'll challenge everybody, and we'll see how many games that have been covered by all the talent. And we put the Robs and the Rory Bs and the Bloxers of the world aside because they're inhuman.
Most of the other analysts, put the analysts aside, put the analyst people aside. Who else here has covered
They
anything?
are machines that turn no plans into Four Nations games covered.
Let's put Temporal aside as well. Let's just forget the entire. If you get rid of everyone else on the broadcast, you spend the most time on here.
Come on, bro. Listen, okay. I hope you're on one of my desks in the later in playoffs, because then you're gonna pay for that.
I don't know how to.
I won't be allowed because Vinci's gonna make it all the way, so I won't be allowed on those broadcasts, mate. I don't know what to tell you.
For sure.
Get here.
I don't know. Let's get back to the lower bracket. Right? Let's repivot back to lower bracket here.
Let's talk about League of Legends.
Let's talk about League of Legends, I guess. Right, and now the first one was we have kind of touched on this loosely with Absolved and Venom Crest, and Avi, this was one that on the last recap I was the lone gut feeling defender of Venom Crest for no real reason other than I thought they would decide to be good again.
You were right.
What happened?
I'll give you that. I think it was just fantastic across the board. I mean, we were talking about Phrase earlier being in the conversation for top junglers, and I think that really showed during this series. I mean, that consistently getting it everywhere you need to be, finding picks, finding perfect engage, disengage, everything was pretty much exactly as you want it to be if you're a fan of Venom Crest. And that's not to say that the rest of Venom Crest were horrible either. I mean, they just let Phrase do all the work, Ali. Let Phrase sit back, let the team scale up, and then suddenly Chrisberg will decide, oh wait, I'm playing ADC. Bosh, kill everyone. And it worked. It just kind of works for them.
Chrisberg with the Bosh, kill everyone.
What do you want to say? That's exactly what happened. Like, Venom Crest, they've been a bit shaky during the regular season, and then suddenly that series against Absolved, we see them flick a switch like that, and suddenly okay, this is a very scary team. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you say, the perfect early game for kind of almost two perfect early games. The Nunu one, certainly,
Yeah.
right, for Fraze.
The Nunu was crazy.
Yeah, he does solves like bot lane very quickly. Quick double gank in bot lane just to sort that one out. Now you can leave Chrisberg and Matthew to do the work. And then you spend the rest of the time camping refresh to keep his nose clean, and then you get him ahead, right? And like, it was, the plan was like solved all the problems that Rob and Temporal were so astutely and correctly listing in the playoffs preview. Fraze was like, okay, taking a note. He was in the chat that day, and he's gone down and go, okay, I need to get bot ahead, right? I'll get bot ahead. I need to keep top from dying too early. Okay, I'm going to keep top from dying too early. And it just completely destroyed the entire series.
Yeah.
So
you keep Chrisberg going, I think it's an easy win.
Yeah, exactly, right? Chrisberg has been the victory engine for this team for a while now. And Rob, we're obviously, we can be happy with how Venom Crest turned it around and played well. But what happened to Absolved? Because there were so many good things coming out of this team. What went wrong with Absolved that day?
I was supposed to say, I'm really happy you asked this because I didn't want to have to like interject with a random tangential point. A couple things with this series. One, there was no Dog Nappy in top. There was Cormac, who I don't know how much he's been playing the game.
Monk off Darius, Monk ass,
Monk ass Darius. He even played. Last time he played in this league, I think he ended up playing ADC for like DMG at one point as well, if I remember correctly. He played like one game on ADC.
I think he was top, but it was like Cormac, Craney, Bum Clean, and somebody and someone in jungle, and they were 9th or 10th, I think.
Cormac needs to Cormac. He's not the player he used to be. He used to be quite good actually when he was playing like NLC Div 3. I just don't think he plays that much anymore. And so I think
he's just got a solid lane, but it doesn't feel like the comp environment necessarily.
I think Dog Nappy has shown moments of being really solid this split. I'm not going to say he's like upper echelon top lane or anything. But I think he looked pretty solid, and I think that you lose that. And then the other thing, as you brought up earlier, the name change. I know Mute is meant to be their or Bronze, Bronze or however you say his name, meant to be their main ADC. I don't think it works. I think what you need in this roster is you've got free my homie Emil. Free my homie Emil. That guy is he solo killed Ketsuo in the first 3 minutes of that game. But
everyone solo killed Ketsuo, bro. Ketsuo's been dying in lane left and right, man. Like, this was not the series of Emil.
No, it was. That's the issue. That's the issue. If you have I'll call Lifestyle. I'll call him by his real name. If you his government issued name Lifestyle or Gab, whatever. He was such a threat when he was playing because he would come in there. Emil would do a lot, and then he would come in on like an Aphelios, and he would get to 3 items, and suddenly he would do 80 carry things. And I think Muta's champion pool, from what I gather, is like Seraphine and Ziggs and MF and Ezreal. And it just means that you're giving Chrisberg and Matthew, who are the winning factor for Venom Crest. Let's be completely frank here. Chrisberg had a fantastic series. That Lucian game was phenomenal as well.
Yes, he was just
it was an absolute destruction in bot lane. And they just kept sending it bot. They were just like, let's go kill Muta again. Like, and it was just, let's just kill him. And I think that's the problem, is that they even had an okay matchup. It was like that second game, for example, was MF Bard versus like Lucian Braum. And like Bard, usually people like into Braum, they're okay with it because you can kind of do a bit of damage, harass him down. Bard can roam, there's a lot of things, with the ultimate is maybe not the best against Lucian, but still fine. Like, you just have a lot of damage in that lane, so sustain once you get the BT on MF. But it just didn't happen. Like, Lucian just ran away with it. I just think that Emil looked fine in this series, for example. Emil looked okay. He still looked fine, but he didn't have another carry. Like, Dog Nappy wasn't there being solid. It was Cormac. You had Darkin instead of Tea Time. Obviously, I don't really get. Both of them have very similar styles. That was fine. I don't know if we...
What we got here?
Breaking news. Breaking news across the desk.
Breaking news. Broad Sports want me to discuss the proposed change to expanding national insurance to cover rental income.
What's up, landlord Rob?
Do you think I'm a landlord?
I mean, I'm just trying to.
If anyone's here who's a landlord, it's the guy that just happily goes and takes 3 weeks away from this broadcast just on a whim. I'm here every day slaving over a hot stove.
Yeah, landlord's a real job, guys. Rob works way hard.
We've already banned politics on this stream. It's not allowed. So I will just simply say that
national. I'm interested now. What's going on?
I'm already getting like I said off stream, I'm sorting out electronic stream, I'm digging through a pile of trash. I'm going to make a guillotine out of that trash, and that's all I'm going to add to the context on that. So, moving on. That's a joke, by the way, if anyone goes this forward. That was the French Revolution.
Minecraft guillotine. Okay.
Yeah, so anyway, moving on. But besides the point, Absolved, they didn't have a second carry. They just simply didn't have someone else to step up. They
No,
just
they
it didn't
don't.
happen, and they didn't have someone to neutralize Chris Burger lane. If you told me the roster was Dog Nappy, Darkin, Emil, Lifestyle, Gibble, I'd have gone pretty good because I think Lifestyle's
Yeah.
would match Chris Berg in terms of
In
what
terms
they
of
can
late
do.
game carry potential, yes.
But
Yeah, definitely.
I
But
don't
that's
think
what
not
Emil's
seeing that.
supposed to
pool
do.
isn't that.
Emil
Bronze
is
is the
supposed to
neutralizer
fill
pool.
that
That's
role.
not good enough.
Like
But you
Emil's
can't fill
supposed
it
to
as
fill
one
the role.
player.
He's filled that role as one player in games this
But that's an
split.
you can't have that expectation
Yeah.
every game. You can't, especially when the
Venom
guy
Crest have it
takes
of
Zed.
Chrisberg. And to be fair, Broad have it of Spark as well, and that doesn't work all the time either. So it's,
No, this is true.
So you're saying
Yeah.
the two teams that have their one win condition, one of them won this series.
sometimes
That's
they
really
lose because the one win
sometimes
condition
they
doesn't work.
If you
Yeah.
it's 50-50. And but I think Emil, like for example, what if you look at the champions played, at least let's take the Echo for example. Emil's a really good Echo player, by the way. It was not a
Yeah.
surprise what was out.
It's a
Really,
specialty
really
player.
It was very good to
it's
see.
specialty for him. It looks really good early on, but that is you can solo carry an Echo, but it's a lot harder in organized play. And the other issue is when the Zed comes through, you're not going to sit there and go, well, yeah, I'll still play the DPS mage that I can now like carry 1v9. I'm not going to play the Azir. You might not take. I don't know, but it's that kind of thing. It's like you don't have that secondary DPS sort because I just think their bot lane had an absolute mare in this series here.
They kind of did.
It
That's
was
the sad thing.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
And then he just got exploited by Crispberg Matthew, who I don't think had been the best bot lane at all, but Crispberg Matthew were the win condition for Venomgress, and you gave a team their win condition. So,
Oh, yeah.
I guess.
I mean, we've been talking about how good Chrisberg is, but just seeing how good Matthew was as well, like consistent consistent support, that's exactly like what you want to see. And I think obviously I keep saying the exact same thing, and I'm going to keep saying the same thing, but you need that consistency to make these plays happen. And we're beginning to see those sparks of life coming through from Venomcrest. They've been a bit shaky, as I said, but a little bit consistent in the bot side. We're seeing that now, and it's really coming through. I think there's potential for them to take this further.
Yeah, you can look at like just how many subs have been made. Their sub roster is as big as their active roster, and you know when
That's
they
kind of the
don't
crazy
have
thing, though,
Matthew,
isn't it?
yeah, when they don't have Matthew, it really feels like they're missing something of this from this 2v2 bot lane. Chrisberg is obviously very, very good, but Matthew definitely, clearly, visibly adds a lot to it. And like having jungle subs and having a change of mid lane and blah blah blah. Like there's just so many changes that they've gone through. They lost 2 bans critically against, I think it was Bulldog, and then the Heimerdinger comes out from
yeah, it would have been.
And like it's just there's a lot of there's always an excuse, right? But seeing this series, it kind of looks like the excuses were a little justified. You know, all of the Johns, once they're aside and none of these things are happening, they switch on in a big way, and they look way better. Now, into an Absolved roster that perhaps is not the best matched up against them, because they're taking the power away from bot lane, which you need to have to deal with Chrisberg and Matthew. And then I think Emil couldn't get nearly the purchase that he normally does, and I think into Ketsuo, there's more that he could have done. He did solo kill Ketsuo at like level 2 or 3 because Ketsuo is a fool, I guess.
I thought you were going to say something else. I thought you were going to say something else with that F. I was like, oh my god.
No, it's just that's just
he's going to flame him.
It's just a goofy moment from Ketsuo, right? But like I maintain that we've seen quite a lot of goofy laning from Ketsuo throughout the split. And he used to be a really strong lane dominant top 3 mid laner in the UK League, but it's been a while since then. And I think he did clutch up. It was a clutch or kick game, that Zed game for him, because it was like, why are you picking Zed into Emil, man? This is not for you. It was a clutch or kick moment, and he got kicked first, and then he clutched second, right? Because he had those critical team fight picks where he gets like the double kills onto the backline. He gets the kills onto I think it was Muta, right? I think it was like when they had the Smolder, right? Yeah, they had like Muta Smolder, and they needed to kill it, and they had the Zed, and he managed to kill it in the critical moment. So he kind of held them in one of those games, right? So respect to him. It was still a bit goofy, but he did what he needed to do. And I think that the top side, when FaZe has time to dedicate there and can make sure Refresh is comfortable and not like overextending himself and not just running around the map kind of doing his own thing, if you can get him linked up with the team, that's when you see the best out of Refresh. The Scion game was excellent, right? The Scion game was excellent. But he got a lot of help early. He got multiple ganks early from Manunu. And that's fine, right? That's just... Sometimes that's what you have to do.
I think it's also, I don't want to say gifted, like, it's a Gormag thing as well. He played Aatrox and then Camille. And if you look at what's, like, obviously we're in UKEL. This is not the highest level of league. I'm not going to...
Oh, no, not by any
means.
Like,
Cormac comes in and plays Comfort for him, right? Probably because he hasn't played that much. You know, we know him for his Darius, but he also plays a decent amount of Camille. I've seen that quite a lot. I've faced it personally as well. I've seen him on Aatrox. before, and he played like comfort. But like right now, one of the best top laners, or Sion is probably the best tank. And that's just like you have to be able to play Sion. Cho'Gath is an answer into that. There's a Yorick floating around. There's quite a lot of like, different picks that you can bring out, but a lot of them are not what Cormac was playing. Like you can play a Darius game, but it has to be in the right state. I kind of wish he had gone for like something like this, just like slammed the ego pick of the Darius and just gone for what I think is his best. Like Camille, I haven't seen. How many times have you seen in the last couple months? How much have you seen Aatrox and Camille like consistently? Like being
normally
like...
you would only see Bust and Refresh picking Camille.
Well, you don't, and then you don't. But even
ago.
outside of this
Splits
league,
ago.
if you look at like even going above like LEC or LTA, the better region, LTA South, or inferior LTA North, one of those two. Yeah. You know, like you don't see that many games of it. So I think it was sort of like Refresh has gone away from his tendencies of just playing
Jax.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Blind. And he's gone towards like he's picking the Sarn, he's happy to play it. And I'm glad we're seeing that. And I think that
that's just how you have to play the game in these days.
Yeah. I think he didn't really play what was the strongest at the point in time, and that also kind of caused a few issues. Like the Camille doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really do anything.
So you can use it still into answers into things like Asante, right? There's still there's a place for it, but I don't think it fit really well into Absolved as a team. Like it did feel like, because this is Cormac's first stage game with them in this split. He played with them a bit on DMG and Div 2, right? Like he played with these players before.
Yeah.
But it didn't look like they were connected. It looked like Cormac was just like, come in, play top lane, do what you want, play your game, and we're going to play our game. And neither game won, because FaZe was playing both, you know?
I'm just looking at, like, because I was just making sure I wasn't going crazy. That, like, for example, that Game 2 draft from Absolved, you've got, like, MF, Wukong, Ziggs, then Bard, then Camille last, but you play like Camille into the Refresh Olaf, and then it's like Camille. Who do you really as like what's your go button? Is it Wukong? Is it Camille? Is it Bard? How is Bard playing this? Like who does Bard ult this game? Like the two carries have dashes. Are you
completely bamboozled with this draft? I was so I was so mad on the desk. I was like,
I'm looking at it right now, and it's like. I get the MF early, but the more I look at it, the more I'm like, Camille last pick into Olaf seems really hard to play for you, like, as this game goes on. And then Camille into the rest of the team, like, you'd rather play almost anything else, in my opinion. That's the way I look at it. It's like...
No, I'd agree.
How would you end up winning this game? How are you going to end up winning this series? Like, you put Emil on Echo than Ziggs. You don't take the Azir. Ketsuo got the Azir in that game too, by the way. I want to put that out. Emil's Azir is incredible. He should be on this champion. He should have been on this champion in game 1.
Yeah.
Not literally, but...
Emil's Ziggs is also good, but it's not... Yeah, I think we left a lot on the table. So not usually. Like. You need something else. Like, the Ziggs is not going to 1v9 in the same way that Azir or Kali or a lot of Emil's other picks can. But it's very good in the right situation, but they just didn't have anything else. There was the bot lane was always on fire, the top lane wasn't having an impact, and we need to be clear that I think Dakin had a pretty bad series as well. We saw a lot better. This might have been the low point for Dakin. We saw from the super sub fiddle support to the other jungle games, like I remember Rob, and rightly so, you're very happy with what Dakin had showed us so far. I think he just had a really down series, was not connecting. And was getting pushed around by FaZe, was getting caught out, was just like, I don't know, it seemed like
it was a mess, really. It felt like that's the other thing that's makes me hard to judge this series too much for Verdant Crest, because I do think they look better, but I think Absolved looked really messy.
I think
Absolved looked like it looked like not what we thought they would look like, but it was like one of those things where this is a Div 2 team that got into, got 5th place now in the regular split, but would you look at them and say, and they could have gone anywhere within that, with that to do with how tiebreakers will work. They could have been upper bracket. Would this have been an upper bracket team in its current iteration? You wouldn't have pointed. This is what you expect Div 2 teams to look like coming into a Div 1 league. They get through relegations. You expect them to kind of have this kind of vibe where it's like very messy. It just looks really, really off. Again, I do think they're missing lifestyle. I'll bring it up again. He was a sub for them, but I think he brought a lot of extra down. Like, I don't think you can have Emil, you can't have. It's not Bjergsen and the 4 wards anymore, which is what kind of the vibe I got from this Absolve roster. Like, you need someone else to step up and do a bit more supplementary damage. And it didn't happen in this game, and it doesn't. You can't bring it from top lane in current patch, current meta, unless you're playing like maybe you can, but you need a slight change on other aspects of the draft as well. Like, it's difficult.
Into Venom Crest, where the bot lane matchup is so pivotal, I think.
Yes, exactly.
It's not a good setup for them, right? Because there's room for other bot lanes where Muter and who even is it? I forgot entirely who was playing support that game.
Gibble?
It's Gibble. Yeah, it was Gibble.
So yeah, it would have been.
Just he's called Beanlord on the stream. I always forget what his actual tag is. Gibble and Muter, there's bot lanes where they could be able to exploit the off-meta picks, the utility AD carries to make
Seraphines,
move there, but Chrisberg is not going to, because of Matthew are too solid, and they're very strong 2v2, they're very good, so I just don't think this is a good matchup choice for them. Quickly, just before we talk about the other matchup, to address Broadsport's question in the Twitch chat, asking what the desk's opinion is on UK bottled water and why Highland Spring is the best. This is such an England-pilled answer. Highland Spring is the most bog standard mid bottled water of all time. It literally is Scottish tap water, bro. You're not playing on the same scale as like, the UK. Like while we are still tied into this tragic union known as the United Kingdom, Scotland's involved. So I mean, the answer is actually Evian.
And to bring up, because I don't know, temporal.
I'll give Evian. Maybe.
Temporal has maybe loaded this up. They're saying about me being a landlord in the chat and owning multiple properties, and you know, I'm just unemployed, guys. I'm literally just unemployed. I drink. I'm not going to show it, but this is. I've been drinking this. This is. Yeah, I'm literally just unemployed.
This is my tap great point, to be fair.
My water choice.
Crossfire that
is Lidl's own. And that shows you how much of my income I have. Lidl's own.
It's probably still better than Highland Spring, to be fair.
Okay, but you know what the real best water is, though?
Yeah.
Like,
what?
Why spend so much money on bottled water? Like, how much money would you spend on bottled water if that was all you were drinking? Like, that's a lot of money, right?
I believe this is 39 pence for 2 liters. None of that.
Get a water filter.
Oh, so invest in the future and get a water filter.
Are you hearing this?
It's one payment. You never have to do it again. And like,
then you can Klarna it. Like it's very good investing.
Exactly.
Can we get a sponsor, please, from certain filtering companies? That would be
from Klarna and Brita,
water.
I guess. Yeah.
True.
Everyone just go and watch the Limmy water sketch, and then you can basically supports all of these viewpoints.
We're starting to achieve class consciousness as well in the chat with Artorias saying aren't all landlords unemployed. So
to be fair,
no, I'm just straight. I'm not unemployed. No, but I'm just straight unemployed. So that's it. That's it. Just no frills, no spills here. I simply don't have a job.
And to be fair, I think in terms of UK bottled water, I think Evian is my choice. But I think there is one bottled water I've had that is just insanely good. It was called Isklar, which is like Norwegian glacier water or something. And it was
I'm the one
phenomenal.
being called I'm the one being called it. I'm the one being called a landlord.
I don't even remember where I got it. It wasn't in the UK, but that's.
Oh, he gets to go to Iceland now. Oh.
Whoa.
And not the supermarket like I have to shop at. It's fine.
Bro, go to the tap. go to your kitchen.
Where I live, the water
from there.
Disgusting.
Tap water is rank, especially where I'm around. Like,
I suppose, south of the border, this is a privileged
Scottish water is good, to be fair. I will appreciate that.
I've never been to Scotland. I can't comment.
You should come up just for the water. It's worth it. And fill up a bunch of bowls and take it back across the border before they lock the border down.
You knock on someone's house. Can I try your tap water, please? I've only come here. You go around Edinburgh. You're like, I could go to like any of the sites. I could see the castle.
Bell
Mile.
Can I use your tap? I want some water.
Just go to like a water pump on the street and just.
Anyway, we should probably
water pump.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I just want to clarify what Temporals just said. There are rocks in your water. What?
Yeah,
I mean, there are rocks in technically all of our water, unless you want distilled water. So, actually, there's water everywhere. There's rocks. There's always rocks in them.
Proper filter heads like Avi don't have rocks
filter head glasses for you.
Okay, right, and. To be fair, Broad, when you guys come up for SEL in like a week, you can fill up some bottles and take it back for Nemly, so you can introduce them to what actual water tastes like.
Can we talk about the final series?
He likes it with Steve.
Yes,
Where's he
let's
from
talk
again?
about the final series.
Anyway, but
I think Rob's gonna have a lot to say.
Yeah, Rob's gonna have some thoughts on this one. Yeah, and because again, I just played a blinder on the playoffs preview, man. Absolute fraud watch confirmed. Bulldogs completely fake, is my opinion, on their 4v5.
Okay,
And even like
they're in
the chats, they're in the chat saying like, yeah, even when we're winning, still fraud allegations. And I said, well, beat Good Chi, and then we'll talk.
They did not beat Good Chi.
They did not beat Good Chi. Avi, this was, to be fair, you can look at it from the positive and say Good Chi finally starting to get themselves together, but we can't even fully say that.
No,
because some of those games were a bit they were
a little bit sloppy, weren't they? I mean, I think that's just a credit to how strong Good Chi looked that series. I mean, it was kind of just domination start to finish, wasn't it? Like, obviously, Rob's going to go into more detail because bias.
Yeah. But... Tom called it a howler, that second game, which I think is fair. The first one was a lot more conclusive. Good Chi certainly started a lot better.
No,
but Rob already sinking into his chair at the thought. Right. Tell us your feeling about this one. As a Good Chi enjoyer, as a paid up member of the Good Chi Shill Army.
I'm not paid. I want to point that out. Firstly, I want to bring up here that
spiritually paid.
The reason why your predictions are so good is because you used all of your landlord money to pay off the team to make your predictions correct.
Okay.
I want to bring that one up.
I had the same pred.
Like, and you too. You use your student loan to do it. I don't care.
I am a teenager. I should hope I'm not a landlord. Like...
Yeah, that's not a good start.
Don't gamble, kids. Okay, so anyway, I think that well, now in esports maybe we're allowed that. Either way, we're gonna. I think the changes to the roster changes were obviously interesting, right? Because no one else really made changes coming into play. I mean, there were like people coming back into the roster with Absolve, with like Muta, who was their starting ADC. But in terms of changing a starting lineup, from what we know, Good Chi was the only one to really do that, right? And bringing in a certain ADC in the form of Rhythm should make your team a lot stronger. And
I'll give you that.
Quality being out, Forshaw starting. People might sit there and think, why is Forshaw starting when he was a top laner? He was a jungler back in the day. The number of times Savonix has reminded me that Forshaw, well, the roster that Forshaw was a jungler on, or rather a sub-jungler for, was Enclave, which was the first proper... Savonix scouted Skewmond is the thing he brings up every 2 seconds if you speak to him about that. So that was the roster Skewmond was on, was the sub for Forshaw, was a sub back then. He's played jungle a number of times in the past. And he's been playing it, practicing it for the last few weeks. He looked pretty good. At least I have some scrim data on it as well. And this was, I think, game one was pretty solid. Like, I think as well, when you've got a team coming together, where you've got players that maybe haven't played together, they played together in scrims, but not in officials. Rhythm coming back as well, played on Rich Gang last split in NLC, Div 1, obviously Venom Crest before that, and then has taken a break for an extended period this split, rather than coming back on any other team. I think overall the games are pretty solid. That game two, a bit messy, a few mistakes in terms of over grouping. But I don't think I was never like worried about watching it. I mean, I was watching it while again doing some housework, and every time I really focused in, we started losing. So I stopped focusing in, and suddenly we started winning, which must be my fault. So I think this looked pretty solid. I think Rhythm looked really good in that game one. Really,
definitely.
Game one. I think that the bot lane of Rhythm and Chompy now actually looks really solid. Like genuinely a very solid bot lane. Playing stuff that, we know Chompy for a Taric, obviously, every season of Taric Water. He played Nico in that first game, then played a Nautilus. He has a few more in the back of his pocket. Kurosh, I think, is still really solid. Like, that's the one thing I want to bring up again. I know we're looking at a team in the lower bracket who were 7th in the regular split. I think Kurosh, again, has been stupidly solid. I think as well,
100%.
It's weird. I think the team should be done a lot better. I think it looks pretty solid. It looks really solid. I think the changes are good.
You look at each individual player and you're like, that's great. I love that. And then you watch them play together and you're like, I didn't love that so much. Like, it's the bot lane, I think, that has taken a lot of the volatility out. Maro, obviously, high ceiling, low floor, a lot of volatility in that player. Rhythm just so clearly has a much more stable grasp on playing out bot lane from, like, with help or without, right? Because Bulldog were focusing bot lane pretty heavily. They'd identified that Rhythm's a scary guy and they wanted to try and deal with it, and they were putting pressure on him. But it doesn't shut Rhythm out of the game, whereas that's the kind of thing that can shut Maro out of a game when he tries to fight his way out of it. But I think that it's watching them play together. I don't love the way Gucci play together. I don't think they feel like a team, really. I think they feel like 5 really good players that I'm looking at them individually do things that I love, but I just feel like they can't bring it together super consistently, and they make mistakes when they're together.
It's like watching
better
a high-elo ranked game.
Like
Like,
it kind of feels like that
players,
sometimes watching Gucci. It feels like they're all really high elo ranked players. It feels like what Inquick was meant to be last split.
yeah, exactly.
But
Uh,
I don't think that good of a 5 stack right now yet.
I think the only thing that elevates it is I actually think the bot lane looked really good. I think
They did.
The bot lane was for sure good. Yes,
they were really good, and I'm very happy with that.
for sure. I think the person really enough to target is for sure. In that you look at it and say he's come back to jungle. You know, he I can tell you he was playing top lane, and then we didn't have him starting this split. Was something he has work and couldn't maybe commit as much. And then he has been playing a lot of ADC. He got to like 600ish.
Yeah.
I think playing ADC in ranked. And then he's gone back to doing jungle, so he has a good grasp of the lanes. I think once he warms, I have there's a lot of promise in him warming up to playing jungle again, having come back into the role. I know he has a deep pool in the jungle role. We haven't seen. I know he can play a lot of different junglers and not just a J4, and not just a Wukong. He can play most of them. I think there's a huge difference between scrims and solo queue playing jungle and then playing a comp game in jungle as well. Because when you're playing scrims, people are a lot more aggressive. Like people are often like flip a lot more in scrims. In solo queue it's the same kind of thing. And then when you come to officials, it's sometimes those some things are a little bit more difficult to maybe push through in the jungle role compared. Like it's very very different playing on stage or in officials.
Yeah,
so I think you could see it. I do think it's an improvement. Qualsy, I think maybe suffered from like a few champ pool struggles in it. Like you could say that. I'm gonna say that, and you could be much ruder than me about that because I know you have big opinions on that, Trajan. But I think that it solves a lot of the issues in terms of draft. Like you're not sitting there going, let's just pick the Talon. Like you have enough champs in jungle. It's just about bringing it together now. Because I think we've had games for Chi where like even in losing games, like Loopy, in my opinion, has looked really good. Like solo killing Lars multiple times in the game versus Bandits, even though there was a loss. Loopy in general has taken it to most top laners. He even his worst performance, I'd have to go back and look, is probably the one where even the first game where it was one against Inquick because he had to play got into lane. And I think that he showed the other thing about Loopy I want to bring up here is he's shown he plays more like that first split. Avi went here, but it was on Bandit. He was on Bandit. Oh, you were on League Ops, right? You were in League Ops. Yeah. Sorry, I'm stupid. Yeah. But he was on Bandits. He played Ornn and he played
forgetting about
Urgot.
Yeah. It was just
and that was it
until people started taking Ornn away, and then it was Urgot.
And then it was Urgot. And Urgot was one trick and ladder, and most people were like banning Urgot. They switched to banning the Ornn. Now, and even in the finals, he showed a Poppy, he showed a Cassante. The last split, he showed some extra stuff, but not much. But now, this split, he's not really played much. He's not really played any Ornn. He's played San, he's played Renekton, he played Cassante, he's played Mundo, he's played Jax, and I think that shows that Loopy has a lot deeper pool and a lot less exploitable than maybe people thought he was. Yeah. I actually been very, very impressed with Loopy and Kurosh's split, and I think the changes should be good. I just hope that it's a good showing against Brod. No matter that result, and it actually will be a heartbreaking result for me. I know Brod can say Rob out all they want, but I do have a special place in my heart for the Brod and his friends. And I think that having to have Gucci versus Brod in the next series, and the worst thing is that deciding basically RPS. For us here at the UKEL is kind of heartbreaking for me because I guess either way I lose as a Brod fan and a Gucci fan, but also in some ways either way I win. So I'm gonna be happy either way. I guess or sad. There'll be like conflicting emotions.
Sure. Yeah. Avi, for Gucci, like. What is your read on, I guess, what is the good parts and what are the problems with Gucci? Because obviously they're going up against Brod, who are a flawed team right now, who have taken a pretty mental damaging loss, and there is a chance for them to capitalize here, but what is the way that Gucci makes a deeper run?
They have to find that coordination. I mean, you said it yourself, but it's flashes of brilliance and individual moments of greatness, whereas that's just not what you need to make it any further into playoffs. You need to have something where everyone's coming together to make these plays, not just saying, we're just going to run at them and hope, and like, maybe Loopy's going to get a massive engage here. I don't know. We have to hope and find out. No, you need to find more coordination, more planning, more synergy between the teams. Otherwise, what else do you have? This is not bad by any means, but I'm looking at Good Chi and thinking, yes, you have the potential to keep going, but I don't see it.
It's the Good Chi classic,
you can
isn't
see it. Trajan can see it. He can see it. He can see it. You can see in his eyes a man who believes that they can make it.
The
No,
he
potential
knows
is there,
what
but
and Rhythm can do.
can you do it? That's the question. I just don't know.
This is the painful thing about Good Chi. Every split is its potential. It's potential. And you're so right to say that, Avi. You're so right, is the painful part of it. It's potential, it's potential, it's potential. And they never actually do it, right? At the very least, they didn't get shafted by Bulldog Academy. That would have been a
that would have been embarrassing.
I would have turned on
that
here.
Would have been embarrassing.
And you would have seen me literally a river of, as I said on the previous one, a river of tears.
You did.
I would have.
So you avoided that, but like we need to convert at some point. Beating Broad, in a sense, would be an arguable big step over that line into conversion, because this is a Broad roster that has so much experience and power themselves that if you can actually beat them, even if they were stumbling against IntQuick, we've already spoken about why that happened, that would be a sign that there is more. And if they can do that, if Good Chi can beat Broad, I'm pretty confident that they could potentially beat Venom Crest. They could potentially go to the lower finals, and then, you know, who knows what's going on there. But they're still right up at the line, and they're never crossing the line just yet into the next step. And this is another time when there's now so much against them to hold them behind that line, so they're not going to make the next step. We're going to have to go around the carousel for another split, talking about how good they might be.
I want to ask Trey, an analyst ask your host a question. I want you to cast your mind. If you imagine for a second, cast your mind to the beginning of the split, right? And instead of the roster that Good Chi had, I told you the roster was now, as in you heard the names, and you heard that Loopy was top lane, Kurosh was mid lane, and it was Rhythm ADC.
Yeah.
And what would you have thought about that? Like, and you know, like I say that you've got like a top 2 Spanish support,
which is top 3 minimum. It's top 3 minimum, or it's a failure.
Like that's the way. That's the thing is, I think we're kind of blinded in some ways, and this may sound like I'm simping for an organization here. I don't believe in.
You are.
I'm blinded by their gameplay, Rob.
But you're blinded. I think you might be blinded by the round robin.
Yeah.
Like I think they're like. There have been rosters that have had all of these players on that have looked shaky anyway in some games. I think Bulldog are a scrappy damn team. They are really kudos to. We're talking about Good Chi here because of my affiliation. I'm going to bring up Bulldog because shout out Jolly firstly. I do like the dogs. I do like what they do. I do like their close-knit community. The fact they've got playoffs has been honestly an overachievement for them. And that's not being rude. I think that a lot of them,
I'd agree.
Me myself included, had them potentially bottom 2. I think they've shown up. They even had the change of their jungler. Pivotal was an incredibly good jungler at the beginning of the split. They bring in Death, who has also filled in a role there, got them into that top 6, which is good to see. And Dogs are a scrappy team. They play a weird style. You had like a TF played in this second game by Faulty. When we last seen Twisted Fate? That's like a Ketsuo special from back in the day.
It is, isn't it?
And so that's the thing is, I think that if you watch the game 1, you go, okay, Good Chi might actually be serious. This game 2, I think there were a number of macro mistakes, but overall they close it out, get the picks, and it ends up being a win, ends up being a 2-0. I just think that if we were looking at this roster on paper, and I say on paper, I don't think these components don't fit together either. I think that's the thing that brings it together is For Sure or whoever is playing in jungle. Because if you put Kurosh and Rhythm as your 2 carries with Loopy as a weak side top laner with a much more expanded pool than he showed in the past, we know Loopy can take it. We've seen Loopy take it to Lars this split, for example.
It's very
in the playoffs. But when we were talking about in the beginning of the split, it was Raider and Lars as top 2. So I think you should feel more confident, and it's one of those things I can see it in your face when you discuss them because there's a frustration. But I think there's don't get hyphy, but I think it's I wouldn't. It's not biased to say I think this could be a very, very close series for Broad and Good Chi. And I think
I agree.
It's either going to be very close or a complete sweep.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but like
I just think it's something where I don't think we can undersell the individual. Like Kurosh, I think has made a case for being a very, very, very good mid this split.
Yeah, and to be fair, there is a lot of, like I said, like we opened the show with, a lot of the narratives and the positions and the understanding we had pre-playoffs has proven to be completely irrelevant because of very notable roster changes like Good Cheese with For Sure and Jungle now on Rhythm, Venom Crest putting their actual main roster back on the field and looking completely revitalized. Like, there's a lot that happened in the split that was hampered by circumstance, that is now hopefully no longer the case, that can be discarded, I think, pretty reasonably. So I think there is validity to that. But Avi, what is your kind of playoffs eulogy for Bulldog? Because we've heard that they're scrappy, we've heard that they demand some respect, that they did way better than we thought. What is your final kind of takeaway on this team as they depart?
I think you're right. We can all agree that they have been a lot better than anyone expected, and you have to give them a lot of credit for that. They've never been considered great, but they've always been, they can put up a fight, and that's the nice thing, because I'm pretty sure we all came into this split thinking there's no hope. They had a miserable spring. It's probably not going to look good this time, and to make it to playoffs, that's a dream. Like, they've put in amazing work. I was saying this, I can't remember who I was saying this to on Desk a few weeks ago, but they've used the power of friendship kind of to make it this far, and it's worked for them. You have to give them credit for making it this far. It's not quite the Cinderella story you want to see, but it's one that they made it further than anyone could have expected, and that's the takeaway. They've made something amazing that no one thought they could do. There's the potential to take it further in winter.
Yeah, they went down to relegations. They comfortably retained their spot at a moment where everyone was ready to say goodbye to Bulldogs Academy at that point.
Absolutely.
They're going to get relegated out. Let's get someone new in. They just can't hack it. And they bounced back out of relegations into a 4-5 split where they took games off some of our biggest names.
Exactly.
And that needs to be acknowledged. So they've earned their spot.
Yeah. Exactly. This gives them that opportunity to try and make something in winter. And I really hope they come back stronger next season, because this is an amazing starting point.
Yeah.
Potentially keep the same sort of pieces, try and expand, make that stronger. I think we're not seeing a top team coming in, but I'm excited to see more from Bulldogs, because this has been very good from them.
Harry Carey was was a good top laner this split. I think it turns out that Sharpie was not the best top laner on his team when he was playing on the previous. I think Harry Carey has been very good. Had a decent enough champ pool. Plays carry. Has played had a few mares. I think there was a Shen game versus Belfast where I think he through that game even though he was winning.
You always will have a few mares, won't you?
Exactly.
We've all had a lead against Belfast and through it.
We've all had a lead against Belfast. We've all been there. And I think that
even you.
The Gucci is not Gucci, but Gucci.
How do I do that?
I think Gucci. In some ways, I think they were unlucky in some ways to come up against Gucci in the first round in the lower bracket. I think, for example, this Dogs roster could have taken it to Absolved and Venom Crest. Weirdly enough,
potentially, yeah.
I don't think they could have taken.
Okay, Venom Crest, Sim.
Oh, I'm sorry for simping for the team that I stuck my neck out for on the playoffs preview and had the most dominant win of any series.
Sorry.
In the first round. Apologies, Johnny Absolved, right? Like, it's
Johnny, but I think that okay. Let's get. I think
they could have taken it to Absolved because Absolved didn't look 100%. That's for sure. I think that there would have been an opportunity for them to capitalize and sweep past them. I don't think there was a realistic chance against Venom Crest to take a series. I'm not going to say there's no way they get a game, right? They've taken, with the amount of games they've taken, they can take a game of anybody, right? That has to be acknowledged. But I realistically, I think Gucci, Absolved would have been the easiest, and Gucci the second easiest matchup they could have had, right?
I'm biased, I guess, but either way,
I think this is with a much better Gucci, as we said, that they did look a lot better, and maybe that's no longer the case in this.
I think for the Dogs, it's like not an unlucky drawing; it's just how it is. But I think that overall they overachieved on what they expected. They need to just. I don't know about the pieces that they keep.
So there's an uncomfortable conversation to have here, which obviously, like, as pundits, we do need to have. I think Harry Kai was very good in top lane. I think DD and Kachi, or Magpie in bot lane, certainly have stuff to offer. I think DD, or DDD, I should say, he's not the level of people like Spark, people like Chrisberg, obviously, right? But is positioned in a similar way as like a win condition AD carry, that if you get them on the right pick in the right situation, they can do really well. Same with Magpie, can be really impactful on somewhat like slightly more off the wall picks, can pull a Thresh out and have huge impacts on it where not many people would. but it's not consistent yet. It's not happening to the same level that our better bot lanes are doing it. However, I do feel like there's a conversation that needs to be had about Mike in the mid lane. I feel like Mike is
That's like the big. That's like not just an elephant in the room. That's like that is.
You let the Heimerdinger go in the bans. Everyone knows to ban it now, unless they literally have bans taken away from them for whatever reason. The Heimer's getting banned, and the mid lane's going to go badly. I think that there is if we're talking about how to improve this roster, I think a mid lane swap is the easiest way to do it. And no one wants to be there and say you're not good enough to be here. That's not like a nice thing to hear from anybody. No. But I think Mike really, really struggles in almost every scenario.
You're going to be their HR, aren't you? Bulldog's going to hire you. You're going to put him on a personal performance plan or whatever it's called, where they like say the HR calls you up and says, "We want to move you on from the business, but we've got to do it in a legally sound way. So, we're going to give you a list of objectives to reach. One of those is 500 LP in solo queue. Like I don't know, like I just think I think Mike has been. He's had some crazy wins. I mean, he beat that Ruddy roster with Errol in mid lane playing Heimerdinger.
Yeah.
I think
the Heimerdinger's lit, bro. The
Heimerdinger, give him Heimerdinger every game. He's pretty good at Heimerdinger. But I think that he has shown some struggles. I think he had a couple better games this split than some of the previous splits. There's an Ari game that stands out to me. I think against against Brod. My brain is completely scrambled. And I think that it was Ari.
It's not that he's
but either
lost
way,
in every game.
It's just one of those things. It's a difficulty, right? Because you look at his champ pool, it ends up being like Heimerdinger's always gone. You've got like Ari, TF, Nico. He had a good Nico game against Gucci actually when Sorge was subbing. It's just difficult. It's hard because you don't want to say goodbye, but he is kind of not going 2026. If there are changes come through that they expect, he is not at the level.
No, I think that is the easiest, most efficient way to level up this roster is to get a mid laner that can be less of a liability. And then with top lane now kind of looking much better. With bot lane, again, there's potential there. There's maybe an argument to try and upgrade it, but I think as a 2v2, they're certainly fine, and they've been able to win games through that lane in the past without having to have a specialty pick that is always banned. Like, I think that there's just a utilitarian analysis delivers us an obvious solution here. And we'll see. And I guess like jungle is harder to say because of the swap mid split, and I think it's harder to tell like exactly what's going on and where that's going to land. But we've seen a lot of games from Mike now, and I think it's just a struggle. So we'll see what Bulldog wants to do.
Get rid of Coach Jolly. Don't need Coach Jolly in there anymore.
If we're talking about the actual easiest thing to do, it's probably Jolly out. And then
if you check, he came in just before playoffs, and their trajectory. So all I'm saying is, if you look at when Jolly has joined on the coaching staff officially on the stream, it's gone downhill, and he's got to go. Jolly's got to go back to managerial. He doesn't have it. He can go play his 1,000 games of Lilia and Silver that he's doing. He can go back to doing that and complaining on Twitter. Just leave the coaching space, is what we're saying.
Wow.
So, strong words from a person who also left the coaching space. But
I knew to do it. I knew to do it.
You left on your own terms. That's true. That's true.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure Brod wouldn't say it that way, but we'll.
Oh my lord. Okay, brother.
Right. Okay. So the last thing we need to do is we need to talk about the next matchups, right? If we can get the bracket back up here, and we need to talk about what's going to happen next round, because first off, Avi, we have Belfast Storm versus IntQuick. Now, IntQuick last split made it to the grand finals. They were the favorites going into grand finals, and now they are up against those favorites in Belfast Storm. And IntQuick's hallmark for us seems to be they don't make any mistakes. They've got a bit of star power in topside, but ultimately they play off the insecurities of their opponents. Now against Belfast, Avi, how well is that really going to work?
I don't know. I mean, we discussed this earlier. What are the weaknesses for Belfast? And we were saying, oh, it's that bot lane. You have to try and take advantage. But looking at IntQuick, I just don't see that happening. I mean, Artorias, fine, but I don't see standout performances. And that's the thing that worries me a little bit. Belfast, if they manage to if they can keep going, if they can get set up, if they can start taking objectives, scale up into the late a little bit further, I think it should be their game to lose.
Yeah. Rob, are you in agreement here? And you think, what do you think the layout's going to be?
Yeah. I mean, that's the analysis really on Belfast, is that are you smashing Raider? Definitely not. Roulette is just very solid. So what are you doing around that bot lane? What are you doing around a mid? and we've said that the plan of
that's not
Inquick
the
is
power
not
for them.
That's
isn't
not what
necessarily
they do.
they're not budget Belfast. They're slightly different in the way that they play, but in the same way, it's like, well, you've got Curb versus Raider. Yippee! I've got Nulty versus Roulette. That's good. But then you've got like Beely up against Limsey. Beely is not. Maybe he does.
No.
Maybe he wakes up on the day, has whatever energy drink / whatever, wakes up and suddenly he's buzzed. He's taken some. No, he's not. There's no drugs being done. I was going to say Adderall or something.
Let's just pivot away from the allegations of bad substance
Yeah,
abuse.
like, maybe
but,
he's
like,
woken
I
up-
do think that Beely is. If we're not going to say that Inquick is BTEC Belfast, but I do
No,
kind of
not
think
at all.
Beely's BTEC Limsey in a way.
Yeah,
I think
those two are basically interchangeable. I think in terms of maybe not the champ pool, but in terms of what they do for their team.
Yeah, and Limsey just does
I'd
it better,
agree with
I think.
that.
And then you're going to tell me that is Artorias, assuming Artorias is playing because they do have Dragdar and User on subs.
That
but
they do.
Yeah.
Artorias Prosfair versus Fuyu Little Pants. We were saying how beat Belfast beat bot lane. Is Artorias Prosfair beat bot lane? And I don't think beat bot
Not
lane.
really. If
So
they bring
then
in
it's not
Dragdar,
what-
though,
Dragdar,
Yeah.
That's a
Dragdar
different
Prosfair
conversation.
Is then the matchup becomes a lot more interesting because do I think Dragdar Prosfair could take it to Fuyu Little Pants? The percentage likelihood is a much higher.
I would agree.
For sure. Yeah, I think there's definitely a better angle there, but of course these are kind of in terms of like making the rosters aren't built for making swaps necessarily for this reason.
Not really, are
Artorias
they?
has played the vast majority of games, and you don't want to see him subbed out. Ideally, like, it's just it just feels bad, right, having that happen. But ultimately, that just depends on how Inquick wants to approach this series. I think you guys are absolutely right. I don't think this is a good matchup for Inquick. If anybody can try and find a way to crack Raider properly, if I had to give the ball to anybody else in Four Nations, I would give it to Kerberos and be like, here's the Raider problem. Here's like 3 weeks. Work it out. Solve it. Solve the Raider problem. So we'll see if he can, I suppose. And potentially does have Nulty to back him up as well. So maybe they can, but ultimately I think it's definitely going to be Belfast favored. We'll approach this Broad Sports matchup in a moment. This is them obviously johnning about how they lost the Bulldog.
It's the
because they
Bulldog
very-
with Ekka's support. We had a top laner who played top lane historically in comp in the past, playing top lane in Zeta, and we're complaining about losing to the dogs. It's unbelievable, right? Like,
Yeah.
we
Aka's-
lost the
Aka's
dogs with
support was-
Soren J subbing in for
Aka's
Oroch.
was, yeah.
Aka's support was ugly. It was ugly game.
Yeah, I
didn't
mean
like it.
that's equal. I mean, I think Aka's is a lovely boy. I think he's actually not bad at support. I just think if you watch that, I watched that game. It was not the greatest performance.
It was
wasn't
not
a
a
good
fun one,
showcase.
was it? No.
No, and I'm
Not a good
happy to see
showcase
him,
for Aka's support.
Happy to see him back on Gragas top. I'll say
But
that much.
Belfast Storm in quick.
Yes.
I think this is. This is a best of 5, I believe.
Production can maybe confirm
Because it's upper bracket
but-
final. So
I
it's
should
sort
know
of-
this, but I don't know.
So it's either upper bracket final, lower final, and grands are
I think
Tell you
just
what,
five,
let-
or just
I've
lower
I've
than
got
grands,
the
I
League
think.
Ops sheet. Let me have a quick look.
Oh,
just 'cause
yes.
I'm curious now.
We have a mole in the League Ops chat.
It's
A
very
mole.
important because
Yeah.
it's either
Okay,
it's
they
best of
haven't
3.
even put it into the League Ops sheet yet.
Okay.
Come on,
I
League
can't
Ops.
tell you,
It is-
sorry.
So it is apparently a best of 3.
Okay.
According to Proj.
Ah,
Okay, so lower final and grands
Interesting.
are best of 5. So best of 3.
That changes
Rob.
my prediction from
Bel-
a 3-0 to a 2-0.
Wow.
You're
Okay.
confident then. I could agree with you maybe.
Yeah.
I just
Belfast and Quick, who are we favouring here, Avi?
I think it has to be Belfast. I think if anyone's going to give him a run for their money, it is going to be in Quick, but it has to be under the right conditions. And I don't think this is it. I think Belfast it's their game to lose. They have to take the opportunities. They have to try and play proactive. And I think they're going to take it.
Yeah, I think Belfast do have enough baseline quality, and they don't, especially this most recent series against Rise Gaming. I think they are starting to clean up some of the mistakes that we'd seen from them at the latter part of the actual regular season, and that's just going to take more options away from Inquick to then, once they are down like 1k each in mid and bot, and maybe if they're lucky, even in top. I just don't think that we actually have a way to upturn Belfast Storm at that point necessarily.
I don't
Without
think so.
maybe a sub in the bot lane, maybe, but even then, I don't know if that does it. So Yeah, I think it's got to be Belfast. I think I'll probably take 2-0 as well. I just think that the matchup's horrible for Inquick. I think it's a really bad matchup.
It's the funniest thing is what I'm about to say is like basically goes back to our analysis of Inquick earlier. Is if the way Inquick win this is if Belfast make mistakes.
Yeah,
it's kind of
literally is because Belfast level is very high. I mean, it's Raider and Roulette are just very, very, very good and neutralize everything Inquick want to do. It's just funny because it is literally Belfast. If you make mistakes, that's how we. How do you see it?
Properly be punished.
You will be punished, or rather, that's how you will lose this game because overall you should be with the experience and with the more recent comp experience and with the more recent higher level style. All this stuff. And what we've seen this split, Belfast should come into this complete favourites, as they should be favourites for pretty much everything.
Do we think
I would agree.
that Kerberos is going to pull out something spicy in top lane, or is he just going to maybe steal the Darius, or is he gonna try and get a Vayne angle? Are we gonna see something weirder from Kerberos to try and destabilize this, or is it just do you think you should actually just try and fight Raider? I don't know about
side select, because weirdly enough, I think it's almost if Belfast have side select and they pick red, I think it might low key be unlosable series for Belfast.
Red side unlosable,
because you just take top counter every game, and like both these top laners will be able to use counter picks so effectively with their deep pulls.
No, I'll give you that.
People say Kerberos doesn't have a deep pool. It's just the most maniacal, crazy thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, that is
everything.
Whoever has top counter 2 games out of 3 basically probably wins.
Yeah, right.
So
no, I'll go with that actually.
Yeah, so I think it's a 2-0. I think we're all basically 2-0'd on Belfast here. But
it sounds sad to say though, but I think it just makes the most amount of sense.
Yeah, like it is consistent with how we've been feeling throughout playoffs. Really, and throughout much of the split, that's just the way it is. And we are seeing the rest of playoffs, I think, as a foil and a forge to build the ultimate Belfast challenger, and we'll see if Inquick is already there. So let's find out.
Do you think there'll be a Azir B1? There'll be an Azir B1 though in the second game when Belfast is taking.
If I see one more Azir B1 given to Limsey, I'm going to crash out because I think I'm on the desk for that series. I think
you might be actually,
or maybe it's lower bracket first, so it might be in
think
the
it's
future,
lower bracket first.
Goodness gracious. Right, let's talk about lower bracket then. If we're lower brackets first. So Broad and Chi, we've already kind of talked about this one we've already talked around this one in quite a lot of depth here, that Broad have distinct problems. Good Chi are improving on the up and up, and Rob, you certainly feel like they are even better than they're maybe perceived right now based on these new roster changes as they settle in. So against Broad, taking the emotional weight out of it,
there's a lot of that.
Yes. Where do you think the angle attack is for Good Chi? Because they are going to come in as the underdogs here, I think, still generally, whether or not that's correct or not.
Maybe so what Broad is showing up? Is it I've just come back from Malaga Broad, or is it I don't know where they went on holiday?
Is it Malaga Broad, or
is it Malaga Broad, or is it
Broad?
Is it Stoke Broad? Like
we've never seen Stoke Broad yet.
We've never seen Stoke Broad,
and we never will.
Get them up here.
So that's
okay. That's spicy talk today.
I think that Broad, there's a lot on there. So weird thing here is I think, as much as you want to talk about the Good Chi avenue of attack, there's important context on the Rod thing. They need to win a series. So they need to win this series. One series win and they get RPS. So there is that weight on their shoulders. Does that mean that they... What's the word? Does that mean that they crumble, or do they step up to it? Because we've usually seen the Porp and Co step up to the plate. But in the same breath, we've also seen them, like last split, in my opinion, that was another split where they should have maybe had a chance to do something, and even though, because I know Air and Bust, we can talk about that, but we also have names like Akkers and Spark and QQR and Paul, all with this kind of this aura around them in the UK scene. So they should still be like sitting there and making the excuse that we faced Air. Like QQR is still a high elo mid laner who's performed very well on a number of champions for a number of years.
Oh, very much so.
Depends what Broad shows up, and I think that for Chi, it also comes down to how much practice are they getting in. Both teams need to be scrimming. That's the big thing. They need to be practicing. Broad needs to get some time in practice. If it's Malaga Broad, I actually think this is weirdly Chi favoured for if it's Malaga Broad, because you're going to tell me that Broad roster that threw 3 leads versus an Inquick team that has 3 passengers and Nolty and Kerberos. No offense to them, but I just think that Kerber and Nolty are the ones that drive that team a lot.
No, I'm on the similar page.
I think that like Broad, it comes down to if that's the Broad, you get a problem. Where if you get like the Broad roster where we've seen the highs that the Cabbage family plus Akkas can do, then she have to really. If it's let's go for the worst case scenario. Loopy and Akkas is pretty standard matchup at this point in the UKL, and I don't think you see massive advantages coming through for either
No,
of them.
not
Any
at
of the
all.
Neither of them
matchups they've ever
should be
played
making that many
historically.
mistakes. Like
No.
Akkas had a pretty rough series this last week, but I think that's going to be cleared up. I think that's very out of character for him, so I think they'll both be pretty good.
And I'm going to go through this and try and make sure that I cause Nemly to have a heart attack every time. If you read the chat, he said his blood is boiling, so I'm slowly trying to increase his blood pressure to a point where the manager is no longer with us.
Yeah.
No, so then and I'm gonna skip jungle for a second because I think that's the most important role to discuss, and then I'm gonna go to mid lane. Kurosh versus QQR. Kurosh got the better of that matchup last time in the round robin, where she did beat Brods. You got to remember, with the worst roster of the less good roster, we would say, of the iteration of Chi. So then you go to Kurosh got the better of that. So what Kurosh and QQR turn up? Is it again Holiday QQR? Is it good QQR? And then in bot lane, I think Rhythm plus Chompy looked pretty damn solid. As in terms of what they had their laning, and Spark and Zeta recently, I think Zeta's had a couple of big mistakes this split. So I think overall, I think those match up pretty evenly well across the board. I think this is probably one of the closest matchups we're going to get in the entire UKL.
No, I'd agree.
But then it comes down to jungle. That's the big thing to discuss: is what Porp shows up. Because for sure, he seems okay. You know, he's pretty solid. He'll play most junglers. You know, he gets a bit of time. I know he's playing behind the scenes. He's got a few different champs. But for Porp, either Porp leads the line and makes Broad look amazing, or he runs in as Vi and dies 5 times. That is the Porp you get in a lot of games. We all remember the Pantheon. Well, I do. I remember.
I remember that Pantheon game with horror.
Yeah.
Like he didn't know what he pressed the R key at the wrong points at the wrong time. Yeah. Literally, there was everything. He could have chosen to do the opposite of what he did with that Pantheon ult in that game, and it would have been a more successful Pantheon ult usage.
But his recent Pantheon games have been his most successful games.
Yeah, exactly. He looks really good. That's what I mean. Is that you go back and you go, what the hell was that? And then you look in some of the games, and he's like, damn, Porp's looking pretty damn on fire. Like the second game versus Inquick, he looked really good. I think the matchup comes down to how much does Porp get going? How much are they all falling behind each other? Because that was missing in this series versus Inquick. Usually the general Porp leads his troops into battle. The disconnect in that game 3 was crazy. They were 2k gold ahead, and it was just terribly played fights positionally, which usually is very rare. From Spark as well, which is so uncommon. Spark's positioning in that series was not great. That's something you don't expect from Spark. Spark is fundamentally a really insane ADC. So
when Broad fall apart, they fall apart together. They all go.
But it comes behind Porp.
Absolutely.
It all comes behind Porp, because if Porp is the person, is the voice. Porp is the person calling everything. So it really comes down to, can you neutralize Porp early on? Because again, he can get really good leads, but that often comes off of his okay path. Either he has a really good game, or his pathing is completely off, and it looks like a mess. And I think that is where you look at where it's attack. You keep the lane stable, and I think. Do you want to go late versus Broad? Broad have shown some pretty, weirdly enough, poor late games this split. They've had a number of throws later on. That's the problem. We should be saying Broad should win late games, and they don't. So do you just keep it, push it late as cheat?
That's the crazy thing, isn't it?
I think you can push it late. Pushing it late with players like Kurosh and Rhythm make a lot of sense to me, because again, late game team fights from Rhythm, we've seen what he can do.
Yeah, they have better consistent now more consistent threats there with Rhythm, who is more reliable in that state of the game for sure. But Avi, for good Chi versus Broad, it does seem like potentially some of it is kind of guessing who's going to turn up, and largely it's guessing which Broad is going to turn up. Do you think there is another more definitive way to ascribe some sort of advantage here besides a coin flip as to whether Broad is awake?
I'm looking at the whole thing and I have no idea, because I mean we said it already, but these are 2 very equal teams right now, because Broad, they are on paper the better team, I think, but they've not been showing up. They've not been able to close out games, and this has been a problem for a little bit now, but kind of accentuated now. So that gives Chi the opportunity to try and make something. It could happen. But if Broad show up, we could be in for a crazy game. I think that if this was best of 5, we would see the craziest map 5 banger. But
yeah, I think so. We're deep into Fearless. Everyone's playing wacky stuff. Like,
I mean, we'll be seeing Ashe Seraphine bot again, but like,
yeah, it's Ashe Seraphine on one side, Samira for Spark on the other, and they're just sending it all over the map. Loopy's got Game 5 Ergot. Akkas is playing like
No, because I'd love to see that because it'd be crazy
AP
fun.
Alistair top lane just to redeem the pick. Like, I don't know. It's
No, but
look, it's
if that's
yeah,
the thing, I can't call it. I'm gonna
no, it's
I'm gonna
really
break
hard.
tradition. I'm not gonna make a prediction because I can't. I don't
Gonna
know
abstain
genuinely.
because it's impossible. Yeah.
I haven't got the foggiest idea. Like, what do you want me to say? I don't know. I'm lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of the
It's really
issue
tough to call
with
this
these
one.
two
It's-
teams.
When Broad is on, my favorite thing about what they do is the way they play together
Exactly.
at like 15 minutes onwards. And that's the thing that I don't like about Gucci is how they play together. I don't like it. I think it's exploitable. I think they're relying too heavily on the pure strength of their individuals. Their individuals are definitely better, and the team play is likely to come. This is probably just an artifact of having a different jungler and bot laner like late into the split. You have to reevaluate how you
Yeah,
play the game. You've
exactly.
got different voices speaking from different contexts. So they probably are going to come up and they have a risk of meeting Broad on the way down and swapping them.
No, I'm fully in agreement. I mean, if Chi finds something, if they can find, like, over the next week, if they can lock in and become the most coordinated team on the planet,
and if they get
I think it's an easy win.
I don't know if Broad can.
I can't see that
away
happening
from Gucci right now. I don't know if I trust Broad to like come back a game against Gucci. If they go even into a mid game and they're on form, I think they can win. But
that's their speciality, though. The Cabbage family have always been so when they were on like Lions Creed, they were always so good at bringing stuff back. You know, they're really good at making those comebacks, which is really weird because I think it's odd because we usually don't see the mistakes we've seen from Broad often froze from ahead this split, which is kind of strange. The other thing to bring up is also bot lane. You were saying about changes. The biggest thing is when you change out an ADC, you're then changing the entire communication structure of the bot lane.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
And so, like, it depends on who was leading what, you know, how aggressive you want to play, etc. And so, like, if Rhythm and Chompy find that, I was going to say rhythm, which is not even a pun, it's just, it's the only word I can think of. If they find their groove, then suddenly, we do know how good Rhythm can be with a really solid support. He had Sniller, he had Snekker in the previous splits. And Chompy isn't bad. Like, I don't think Chompy's a poor support at all. I think he's had a number of decent games. So I think you have to look at bot lane for this. So it's like jungle and then bot lane. And then I don't think mid and I think Kurosh and QQI should be pretty standard. And then I think Loopy Akers is the most stable, like, unless Akers has an insane series, because Akers can sometimes
we get back to carry Akers when we had a split of that at one point.
He can have banging games, but other than that, it's gonna be probably Cassante hitting versus Ornn or something. Like it's gonna be Sion versus Cho'Gath.
We will see that Sion Cho'Gath, I guarantee it, because we see it every series.
I want the Akers Renekton back out. That's what I want.
That'd be fun.
I want to see the
Why don't we have that?
I don't know, man. I think people are pretty soft on Renekton right now.
I think the analysis of this series, and we'll have to move on soon because we're just going to keep on this one, not be able to make a prediction. Is
exactly.
Look at jungle where the Foreshore coming back in is gonna end up being a benefit, which I think it has been. But like, how does he improve? It sounds to me just 2 days of he hasn't played jungle for a long time properly, and he's now coming back to do it. And every day he has is another percentaging. Instead of playing 1 day of jungle or 5 days of jungle, he's now going to play 10 days of jungle. Like, what's 10-day Foreshore looking like in jungle? And then in bot lane, I think that's the biggest thing to point out is because it's the changes. Rhythm Chompy versus Spark Zeta. What's the vibe on that? And that's the way to look at it.
I don't think I can give it 2-1 Broad because I think if it goes to game 3, I think Chi hold it down better. I think Chi clutch up in game 3. So I think it's 2-0 Broad or it's 2-1 Chi, personally.
I think that makes a lot of sense. It's just one of those. We have no idea.
He wants to say Chi. I can see it. You can see it in Trajan's face. He knows he'll be slated if Broad win. He knows that Gov, Nemly, every Broad Ultra will be in his DMs saying, "You did what, Trajan?" He'll be atted in the Broad Discord. He'll be flamed to high heaven, and you can see it.
They'll be in my house.
I can see it.
They're all coming up to Scottish Esports League finals this week, and they're gonna come to my house and murder me.
I can see it in your face. If you look at your face right now, if you look at your face, you want to say that Gucci win. I can tell it because it's your eyes. You feel it. You could feel that Brod are not going to win this series.
This
in
is
your
how
bones.
I felt about the Venom Crest series last time.
Yeah, I'll give you
Feel,
that.
I can
Exactly
see how
the
you
same.
feel because you're sat there thinking like, well, Brod, they like throw these leads and like they really made a lot of mistakes against Inkquick, and you've rewatched those Inkquick games and you've gone, they really did not look great even with leads, and now they're facing like Rhythm and like Kurosh and like they as opposed to Beely Artorias and now you're really questioning it. I'm biased, but I can see.
But remember
it in your face.
game 2 against Bulldog? Remember how messy that was? Remember how they almost tossed game 2 versus Bulldog?
But it was won.
They did win it, though.
As opposed to game 1 where Brod were in the lead and game 3 where Brod were in the lead significantly. And that was a worse throw. That was a significantly worse, in my opinion, that was worse. No, I'm not being rude. I do think that was a worse game 3. I think they should really, really be winning that game, Brod.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, again, it's biased. But I can see it, even before bringing all this up, I can see it. You can see a universe where Brod flunk this game. And give RPS to Belfast. You can see it.
You're like
100%.
100%.
Doctor Strange right now. You're like meditating, and you can see the universe.
I don't want to live in this timeline, man.
Like I can see it. You want to say it. It's because not because you want to be contrarian, because an analytical part of your brain is going, there's a really good chance here. It's really close.
I'm taking 2-0 Brod. I'm taking 2-0 Brod.
Okay.
I'm manifesting it again.
Okay.
I manifested
Hey.
Venom Crest Resurgence,
Pray.
and I'm going to manifest Brod's Resurgence. Abby, you have probably smartly abstained from this impossible prediction.
I can't call it. Like,
Rob,
who knows?
would you like to give us a chi prediction?
It's 2-0 chi. Up the chi. Okay, it's my
Yeah.
current
Really?
org versus my previous
Oh my
org. I have to go with
God.
my current org. As
Who
much
would've
as I do
thought?
love the Brods, this is purely based on the fact that I have to support the P. You have to back the club you're at, no matter what club you're at.
No, I
You've
agree.
gotta back the
That
P.
is what you got to do.
And I want to say, Trajan, for you cowardly taking that because you're scared for attacks on your life when they come up to Scotland, I want to call out that you can call the police and make sure that if anything happens, lock your doors.
I am
Yeah,
manifesting this Brod 2-0 win. So in response, I'm going to request that they leave my mail unbanned when we probably play a stage LAN game next weekend in Dundee. So that's my price. Is leave
You
my
don't want to
good
be
champion
bum
open.
roughed on saves while the Brod Ultras
so
beating
that
you.
when BB Muffin is completely blowing me out in that lane on stage, I can at least be playing a champion that I feel like I'm quite good at.
All I'm going to say, and this is directed directly at Nemly here, is he's going to experience a little bit what Manchester United experienced versus Grimsby. He's going to have
cannot
flashbacks.
compare this to
And let's just say this is also going to start in a 2-0. So he's going to be completely, he's going to be mind blown. He's going to have his football team's going to, or whatever, Manchester United is going to have lost to Grimsby, and then he's going to have his team lose to Goodchi. And he's
okay, but then Manchester United won 5-0 against Burnley, was it?
But that doesn't matter when you're out the cup versus Grimsby. I mean, come on,
Grimsby Town, mate. Come on now. But look, to be fair, I'm taking a Brod win. Respect to Prosper as a fellow Outer Wilds fan, I assume from that. But look, this means that it's either way. There's going to be pain on either side. It's going to be the collapse again of the Gucci potential project, once again claiming another split, or it's going to be the collapse of Broadsport's long and storied journey to RPS at the final hurdle. So there's going to be a lot of pain on either side, but there will potentially be a lot of elation as well. So this is going to be a tough one. It's going to be an emotional one for sure. Now let's look at the last one. Let's look at the last series before we wrap up here.
Yeah, that'd be
which is
interesting.
Venom Crest versus Rise. Now this one is again quite difficult to call if you're not convinced by Venom Crest. So Avi, how convinced are you by Venom Crest? And into Rise, given what we saw against Belfast, do you think that Venom Crest was just beaten up on a bad team, or are they actually back? And is Rise now going to be the second victim in the lower bracket?
This is. I'm going to get cancelled for this, but I'm just going to outright say it. It's 2-0 Venom Crest.
Oh,
dear. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling confident looking at this.
2-0 Venom Crest. It's painful, isn't it?
No, it is. I agree. It's like I'm not liking what I've been seeing from Rise. They've not been the team we expected, and I don't see anything changing over the next few days. Venom Crest, they have put in a lot of work. They've come up. They've massively improved over the last few weeks, and that performance against who was it? I've already forgotten. Absolved. I think something could happen.
Who cares, man?
Who cares?
It's already
Get
done.
out of here.
Honestly, I
Nabil, who's that guy?
Of history.
I just have faith in Venom Crest right now, but is it okay? Do I have any basis for this? Absolutely not. You've got that gut feeling sometimes.
Oh my god,
but like,
so me. Oh my god, we're
honestly,
twins.
like,
Exactly the same as me.
Venom Crest. Should they win on paper? No, absolutely not. But looking at how they've been performing, looking at how Rise have been performing, looking at all of like my gut feeling,
Yeah.
it's going Venom's way.
Dude, all of last split, the Venom Crest defenders were, as I said on the desk, were the worst person you know has a great point. And now we had 1 week of being like a proper underdog defender, and now we're right back to being the worst person who made a great point.
I am a horrible person, but at least I know what I'm talking about sometimes, maybe.
At least you're correct, because I do think this is a Venom Crest win. I think it's a 2-1.
Thank you. Then why are you acting so crazy about me saying that?
What?
I don't think it's a 2-0. I think it's a 2-1. I don't think Rise are gonna tumble out like that. But Rob, okay, explain all of your
Rose exploding in a
consternation from the bottom right of the screen.
I think that's insane that this is like as easy to call right now as that. Firstly, I mean, I do think there's a chance that Venom Crest win. I don't think it's like a complete blowout for Rise. However,
yeah,
I think that you have one Venom Crest series versus an Absolved that really did not look good. I mean, Absolved in that series, go back and watch. I mean, again, go back and watch it. Absolved did not look good, and then suddenly we're thinking Venom Crest, they're back, baby. They're getting finals. They're gonna reverse sweep Belfast Storm again, boys. Choo choo on the fucking Venom Crest train. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, this is crazy to me. Man just needs one glimmer of hope, and he's already getting the Venom Crest jersey out of his closet again. That's ridiculous. I know. Rise,
get one. Like,
Rise should win. Right, in my opinion, Rise should win this series.
Rise should win.
I think Rise will go 2-0 this series as well. I think Rise are a significantly better team. I think B Nothing is a significantly better mid laner than Ketsuo is. I think in top lane, Aniki is someone that is a significantly better top laner than Refresh is. I think then in jungle, I think it really comes down to like what phrase turns up on the day and what champions he's playing, because I do think he kind of like Darkin had a bad series.
Yeah,
he did.
But I think that even Tweak in the bad series versus Belfast Storm made a number of plays to drag them back into that game. When he was playing on that Jarvan, his score was terrible, but he was still fighting for you and blowing him up in team fights. So I think like Tweak is a significantly better jungler than Darkin is as a comparison in that matchup, and therefore I think matches better up into Phrase as well. And then I think in bot lane, Sin Jamsu versus Crisper. This is where Venom Crest win. Is Crisper Machu enough to beat? Like, do they overcome Sin Jamsu in the sense of it's not Sin Jamsu is this immovable object? It's just they're super solid. They aren't going to be like Muta Gibble. So for me, across the board, you have better matchups. I think really solid matchups across the board on the top side, winning in both solo lanes for Rise, in my opinion, and then a bot lane where Sin Jamsu is not going to commit the sins of their forefathers of Absolved, and they're not going to make those mistakes. Maybe they get caught out by a Nunu gang. Maybe they get caught out by Fraser's Udyr. But I highly doubt that across the entire series, Rise are going to make that many mistakes in the early game, which is what Venom Crest were having. You know, like Ketsuo didn't have he brought it back in those team fights later, but like
his lane was still bad.
His laning was still bad, and then you're going to have a different creature in BB Muffin in terms of Emil. Although Emil is still a very good mid laner, I think you've just got a better mid jungle duo of Rise as well. I think
as long as BB Muffin is getting back to form, BB Muffin has not ended the split at his peak, and I dare say that Belfast still was not where he needed to be.
No, I would agree.
BB Muffin on his day is the best mid in the region. and was last split probably.
Yeah,
But
definitely up there.
last split, I think
not
you
so
had
much this split.
Air.
Haven't seen it, have we?
Last split, you might have forgotten about the little guy called Air there. I think he was.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I guess the best UK mid.
he was the best Irish mid. Don't you've already started. You've started
God,
becoming
what a
that. He's
witcher.
Irish, man.
I don't know which side of the line he lives on, man. Like, okay,
because it's Scottish person not knowing about parts of the British Isles.
UK and Irish mid, yeah.
But either way, besides the point, BB Muffin is incredibly good on his day, and if he's coming back, and they are probably, I suspect, highly motivated by the fact that I think that if you watch that Belfast game, there's a lot of mistakes they make, but there's a lot of things they can clean up on, and they didn't necessarily take it massively to Belfast, but they don't want to go out in the way that they don't want to flunk out of this lower bracket. They want to at least make a run of it. I think they'll be motivated. I think Sin has been putting in Nemley, who usually is the biggest Sin detractor of all time, is in chat saying he's been putting in a shift recently. I think Sin has been really good recently in this split so far. Sin has quietly been very good, and I think
he's very motivated.
Yeah.
He's motivated. I just think it's a like the reason I find it crazy is because I can see the ceiling of Rise compared to the I think do I think Crispo Machu will beat Sin Jamsu as obviously the Venomcrest people in chat? Yes. Do I think they will have a better laning phase? Probably yes, because I think Crispo Machu, when they have all played the game together and they're practicing and they're not swapping players and out and swapping supports, I think is a very solid bot lane. I think Sin Jamsu I think Sin has been putting in a shift, but Jamsu has had a number of games where he struggled a little bit, and that has been kind of typical. That was like on the Belfast Storm last split. Do I think they'll have a better time? I think they might win bot lane, but do I think they win the game? I'm not too sure, because I think I also think we undersell. I've been simping for the guy a lot. Aniki, I think Aniki's really
I think Aniki needs to be remembered for sure. So that's why I think this is a 2-1, and this is not that I think Venomcrest on balance this is just the stronger team in kind of in multiple most metrics, and they're just I just think that Venomcrest's players mostly the key players, I guess, being bot lane and jungle, will hold up better to playoffs series pressure than Rise will. I think they will continue to improve from where they are. If anything, it's returning back to where they were, not necessarily improving from where they are. But I think that in this setting, from what I've seen from both these teams, I just feel like Venomcrest is going to clutch on the day. Not to and the fact that we could potentially lose Rise and Broad from upper to lower to out through
which is crazy to think about.
It's criminal, given what they're still showing us and the effort that they're clearly putting in.
I think it's just the caliber of the league now, though, isn't it?
And that's how it goes. I think that's how it goes. And I'm not gonna be crying a river on the next recap show if Rise win.
I'm just shocked that it was so easy to call out Venomcrest on this one. I'm shocked because I think this is I don't think this is as close as Chi Broad. I think Chi Broad is, again, probably this particular iteration of Chi is the closest. These two teams,
I think that's the closest matchup right now.
A matchup in the entire league as it currently stands. However, I think that Rise to me have just shown. I think Rise are a better team. I think Rise are motivated.
I would agree.
I think Rise are, in terms of, I just think that there's a feeling that Venomcrest maybe could come in and do something. Maybe Ketsuo goes back to he played the Zed, whereas we've seen him play mages in the past. I just have a huge faith in Tweak and BB Muffin and Aniki on top side to really take it to the top side of Venomcrest. And then it comes to bot lane, again, I think Sin Jansen will be fine. I just think that Rise should 2-0 this. I think it's one of these things where if they don't, I think it's disappointing, because I think with the hopes that we had for them at the beginning of the split and what we saw from the roster and the highs we've seen, I think Venomcrest we've seen, to me, is still too rocky. I don't take much away from that Absolved win, just because I genuinely think Absolved looked very poor. I'm not taking away Venomcrest getting this far.
Have a good performance against a poor team.
We can't say they're not rocky unless they win this.
Okay, if you win this game and it's like a 2-0 Venomcrest, then I'm
it's
changing
the same
my
with
tune.
Gucci, right? We can't be sure
absolutely.
until they win this matchup. Until they win this matchup, both Gucci and Venomcrest are still questions.
And I'd say that's
for me
pretty
because
fair.
because we need a bit more
But
data.
they're both really good litmus tests for both teams,
Yeah,
right? Because Broad has been
exactly.
really unstable and Rise has been really unstable. And so if you're able to be, for Chi and for Venomcrest, the more stable team and get through this in a calm, even if it's a 2-1, but it's a close, it's a 2-1, but your wins look solid and your losses are just a bit close. And you lose to some
critical wins when you need them. And like,
it's not about like even the game score. If you win this series 2-1 or 2-0, as long as
it's
overall you look good, even you can look good in your losses. That's always possible. Like I think you could, no, not Bandits this, but there are games where you can go, okay, you lost this game, but there's a lot to take away positives. So a 2-1 isn't a problem. It's just if you can get through
no, not at all.
the
Well, yeah, let's go with that.
The narrative changes. The narrative does change, and I think that. But for me, Venomcrest still have a lot of. There's too much uncertainty for me to even
just
call
not
it.
convinced.
But
I'm just
you
not
don't have that
convinced over
faith.
it. I don't have the faith, and I just don't have the faith compared to what I have in Rise. I just think the guys in Rise will clutch up, and I think there's a number of players on that roster that can clutch or kick, and I think that they will be kicked if they lose. I can tell you.
Whoa, okay.
I look forward to then, increasing my predictions win count over you to 3. With the Absolved collapse, and then the Broad Friends one, and then the Venomcrest one. We'll just confirm that Rob is washed. And
you predicted Broad would win that. You think Broad is going to win that series? You said that Broad collapse, right there.
No, I said Rob collapse.
Oh, Rob collapse. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
said Broad is going to win. You've
Rob,
taken Chi, but you have to take Chi, so that's kind of irrelevant. But
exactly.
Venomcrest so far have shown me what I need to see. They've not shown Rob what he needs to see. Right,
no,
but
that's
they've
fair
shown me
enough.
what I need to see.
It's about against a good. It's a solid team.
Yeah.
It's about sitting there like the
when they're all actually playing.
Yeah,
then
I haven't seen enough of them playing. Like not subbing people in out. I don't even know. Maybe they do. They assume they have their full roster here for next week.
With that, let's wrap it up because we've got a long old show.
We talked about
this
water.
We've had four of them to go. We've resolved the bottled water debate. We've taken a look at Div 2. So that's probably enough content to keep everyone alive.
National insurance, casual formation stream. You know how it goes.
What does the accountant think on that topic?
Good question.
Personal tax makes me want to throw up and die.
See, this is why
I don't engage.
This is why why like phrase. This is why I have faith. Light work.
Yeah, I have faith in the phrase that predicted Absolved last week. And then completely. And then completely
no, but honestly, if they're going in with confidence and they've had good performances, they have the confidence. I have the faith. On paper, I agree it should be Rise, but I have faith, and that's more important.
Yeah, one day, FaZe will be truly viewed as the actual strong jungle talent that 2 titles have so far earned.
You won 2 titles, you should be recognized as one of the best in our league, but nope.
That's well.
Imgoon won a world championship.
My go.
Baolan won a world championship.
Let's not start hating Baolan, okay? Let's not start Baolan slandering. All right, the ghost of Eris is gonna appear and take us all out. Okay, so let's wrap it up. Thank you everybody for watching. Thanks everyone for chatting away and giving your opinions and takes alongside as well. Thank you Avi and Rob for joining me. Thank you Temporal for running prod as astutely as ever, and we will see everybody back on Monday and Thursday for the next round. So it's losers bracket. I believe we have. I'm not 100% sure if we have the schedule locked in, but I believe
I do.
I
believe.
Do we actually have Lops actually?
I think I do.
Have they lopped?
Am I allowed to leak it? I am allowed to leak it. Yeah. Okay,
it's Broad and Chi on Monday. Okay, that's a tough Monday, man. That's they're gonna make me go to work and then watch Broad Friends vs Good Chi afterwards. That's
it's painful, isn't it?
That is painful. And then with Rise and Venomcrest on Thursday. So 2 incredibly close matchups, very hard to call as we have seen, to see who gets on in the lower bracket, and then we'll have Belfast Storm that following Monday up against Inquick. So we hope to see you all there at 7 o'clock as usual. And this playoffs is crazy, man. Everything is so hard to call after round 1. We just don't know what to think anymore. So thank you everybody for watching. No idea. That's pretty much sums it up as a way to wrap
no one's got a clue.
Let's end it with no idea. And with that,
no. Why are we even here? Just to suffer?
Have a good rest
of your Saturday, everybody. And we're gonna go and have an existential crisis. So we'll see you later.
Origin out. Get out of here.
That's the perfect outro. Because it's calling me a goat, and that's just true.